everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Project Lightwaves. I am one of your hosts today, as always, Chastity. And today I am here with my wonderful and awesome co host, Joe. How are you today, Joe?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, as well as, a Square Enix fan can be during this, drought of, having. It's like a lot of information, but, no information at the same time. How
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah. I was just about to say that. Like we have a lot of news, but not really anything interesting to talk about. I mean, we have some things to talk about. Just not everything is worth mentioning.
Yeah, yeah, like it's just kind of like, oh, like that happened, I guess,
Yeah.
So we'll dive a bit deeper into such things later in the episode. But as far as you, you have any thoughts, especially it's the weekend now, it's the end of October. How are you
Yeah.
feeling?
Well, feeling spooky. I know we're not into this event in my
Hmm.
country as you guys. I mean
Yeah.
as in our household, like we try to get a bit of this feeling. Yesterday, like for example, we watched Doctor Sleep, which is kind of scary, for
Hmm.
in honor of that. Of but
Yeah.
we don't go to the same extent that you do,
Yeah.
guys. How about you?
I'm good. I mean, it feels kind of like I feel like once you're like an adult, like it's either like you go to a party or maybe like what you just said, like maybe you and your friends or your family, you have kind of like a movie night of watching like horror stuff. So
Yeah,
for me it's kind of like chill. Like I don't, it's I might
yeah,
buy like some candy
yeah.
like the day after, like once it's like half off. Like that's my
I
Halloween
get it.
celebration.
Yeah,
So.
that's the
But
sensible choice in my opinion.
yeah, yeah, and I feel like where I live, like there are kids around, so like I might get some kids at maybe at my door. We'll see, but that's I feel like it hasn't like where I am, I haven't really felt like the festivities. Like I haven't seen a lot of people with like decorations at my like where I live and stuff like that. So, maybe it's because of like COVID or
Yeah, I
like
was gonna say, yeah.
it's
The
yeah, yeah,
overall
like
the
it's
overall mood is still not, fully. We still haven't fully recovered from that
yeah,
period, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. But speaking of spooky things, let's talk about some villains
Ooh.
because you can't talk about horror and like scare us talking about a lot of the villains behind the games that we love. So I kind of just want to pose a question to you is, out of all the Square Enix games that you've played, whether it's, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts,
Mm-hmm.
or even stuff on the Western side, with like Tomb Raider and Guardians, just dropped, which I hear it's actually apparently really good. Can you just name your favorite villain or maybe if you don't have a favorite, just some that at least are rememberable to you?
I Picking a favorite villain like right now on the spot. I'm not gonna be very original. I'm going to you know my answer. It's Sephiroth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Sephiroth.
yeah,
The one winged angel, yes.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty much the first a real villain that I encountered in video games. So I guess he made an impact.
Yeah.
I'm I
I definitely
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Uh,
Oh no, you go ahead.
yeah, I was saying that I know not a lot of people are liking what the way they're going with the remake version
Mhm.
of him, but well, I still think we'll see more. I want to see more before judging because he wasn't supposed to be that that much in the first part. So um, he gets. I'm hoping he gets better, especially if we start seeing more of him in part two.
I think for me, as far as like when it comes to remakes, excuse me, Sephiroth, is that like a lot of people always mention the fact that like the creators have said that he's supposed to have this Jaws effect in the original, and I don't really think like that can be replicated
Nope.
because it's like,
Exactly.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's he's like the
yeah.
the the, the most well known villain in one of the most well known villain in gaming history. So like that's not
Well,
gonna happen
also
anymore.
that, but also because this isn't like a straight remake. Because
Yep.
like this whole thing is like spoilers. Like I feel like anybody who's listening to this show has probably
Yeah.
like
Just
played
mute,
the
guys.
remake,
Mute.
but
Mute.
yeah. Yeah, just mute for like the next minute. Is that like, it's not a straight remake. Like there's obviously some very like time loopy, time travel or like at least characters knowing things that they
Uh-huh.
shouldn't know that's going on. And so like I feel like this straight up isn't the original Final Fantasy 7 Sephiroth anyway. So like you can't do that with the route that they're going with the story, but I think even if like they had have done like a straight remake, like nothing was changed. I do think like I don't know if like I feel like you would have to add like something to Sephiroth. Like you would have to have like either more scenes with him because I feel like the original version of him like he works, but there's always like a lot of questions with Sephiroth in terms of like his character development. Like you really don't know a lot about him, and it's like he's such a crucial part of the story, and it's kind of like and he's like a tragic figure too, and so it's like I think adding more to his character is necessary. Now whether you think the remake stuff that they added is great, that's like another conversation. But I think even if they had just done like a straight remake, we would have needed to see like more like whether it was flashbacks of like pre crazy
Yeah.
Sephiroth. Like you need to get more in my opinion.
Yeah, I personally didn't really have a problem with how much they put him in the first part.
Hmm.
I can see why people would be put off by that, since he shouldn't be in part one at all, or we should barely hear about him. But like I can see also the thinking of the developers, if they someone as famous as him wasn't part of uh, a full game that's called Final Fantasy. It could have caused a bit of a backlash for some people, who are like me, fans of yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say like I don't know if this is a hot take, but like I don't think the ending of the remake would have been good if we didn't fight him. Like if it like
It's a
if
it's a good
ironically,
it's a good hot
yeah,
take, yeah.
yeah, like ironically, like a lot of people blame like Nomura for like hit that being like the final boss, and like it turned out he
Nah.
didn't even want Sephiroth
Yep.
as the final boss. Like it was the original director of the game, Katas, and like the new co-director. I can't remember his name. Like you probably remember. Um,
Hamaguchi.
like they were pushing for it. So it's just kind of like I just find that funny. Like I feel like if it would have ended like on the Whisperers, like that would have been bad. Like honestly,
Yep.
because I just don't like them. So like
Yeah, me neither. Yep.
um yeah. So it's like if they would have been the final boss, like I would have been like, this sucks. But like with like Sephiroth, like don't get me wrong, like I think it's stupid. Like I don't know like what's going on. Like if you told me to explain like the last like hour of like the remake, like I couldn't tell.
Oh,
like,
I can.
like
Can do you have like 3 hours or so?
yeah. Yeah, it's like yeah, like I could probably like break down my thought. Like it would take long, but like I couldn't give you like a straightforward answer. Like I think it's conjecture. Like I
Yeah.
think everybody has like a
I
different interpretation.
Yes, that's it. And I
uh
understand people who didn't get it first. I certainly didn't before
mhm.
watching spoiler cast and people theorizing about what happened, and then
Mhm.
eventually analyzing what happened more. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a bit confusing, but
Mhm.
that's par for the
Yeah.
course.
And we wouldn't have gotten things like cuz I mean, I'm personally team like we've said this before, like I'm team like Arif needs to live cuz I
Yeah,
think all this is a waste of time if there's not like a real change at the end of this. But
yeah,
like if she does die, we at least got Arif like being able to like beat up Sephiroth and tell him he sucks, which is worth it.
yeah.
So like it's like a that was like a 10-10. Like that whole final boss was
I
like a
wasn't
10-10.
really a fan of that theory. I was more uh, thinking that it would maybe ruin the game if she didn't die. But I'm starting to change my mind.
Mhm.
The more I see the path they're taking with this remake. So I think I might be okay with it if they decide to go that way in the end.
Yeah, cause like I don't think she's gonna be the only president. Cause like I feel like they're going very out of their way. Like I know people have their theories about the ending of like and again like if you haven't played like intermission like Yuffie's DLC spoilers for like the next minute like mute it. Um, at the end of her DLC, there's like a scene of like Zack entering Aerith's church
Yeah,
and like some people think like oh he's dead and like he's just because like they think like the framing of it is weird and it's like to me I don't think like I think like the writing is very like straightforward like I don't think there's like this subtle like oh like he's really dead like everything about this remake is like everything they've done before with character depths. Like whether it's Final Fantasy X-2, like X-2 was basically an entire game about getting Titus back. Like I mean, you could technically end the game without like getting him back, but like the canon ending is getting him back. Like Kingdom Hearts literally like retcon like the ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 with like Roxas and like Nominee happy to be like, oh no, they're not happy. Like they need to be their own people and like live their own lives and be alive. Really, like this is just like no more thing. It's like I just don't understand like the whole like no, like it's all gonna end the same when it's like nothing. Any of these people who have been involved in this like this doesn't track with like their previous like history. So I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but like that's me. I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but that's just my thoughts.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like you're basically you think that if they Nomura and his team did that for other games, like they might do it again for the remake. I get that. I personally think that it could go either way. Honestly, my point is that Sephiroth is the way he appeared in the original is what made him so mysterious, and they can't replicate that in the remake anymore because there isn't that mystery around him like it used to be. He's pretty famous now. But yeah, that's my villain. How about yours?
Um, well, I feel like maybe maybe I'm kind of going to be similar to yours, where I feel like I don't know if it's maybe like the first Final Fantasy, like maybe like the first Final Fantasy villain is kind of like the one that like sticks with you the most. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I guess with me, it's a weird answer because there's that whole debate when it comes to Final Fantasy 8 about like how good of a villain like Ulta Messia is because we mostly see her through like Edea and like I feel like most people like Edea. And so like for me it's kind of hard to answer the question because I feel like Edea has the memorable moments, but it's Ultimacia technically. So it's kind of like hard to answer.
yeah. I
But I
think
guess
it both count. I mean, they're interchangeable, I guess. But like you're saying, it's Idia most of the games, and the iconic moments are with her on the screen.
yeah, yeah. Like the whole like the moment where like during the the parade in like the city,
Yeah.
and like her when she kills the president and like she makes that speech about how like they're all like idiots who just like blindly like follow people, and like she's like casting a spell on them and stuff like that. And I kind of feel like, honestly, I feel like this is true for like every like all the PS1 Final Fantasies, but I feel like they all have like great, like very like untouchable like first discs. And like Final Fantasy VIII's first disc is like really really good in terms of like the build up and like, facing off with her, and then like it ends with like her like stabbing Squall with like the ice shards and stuff like that. Um and I feel like she has like really good music, because like I mean all the villains do. I mean
Yeah.
most, I guess I'll correct most, but like I really like the music that like often plays with like Idia and like Ultimacia. Like I think that's the one perk I'll give like Ultimacia, is that like that like final like boss rush with her is like really great in terms of like you fighting like the human form, and then like her pulling like Griever out of Squall's mind, and like maybe I'm a lion,
And the
and then
extreme
like the
playing in the
extreme.
background. Yeah.
Yeah, like so I think they're great for like different reasons. And I think that's one of the reasons why like an 8 remake would be really good, because we could hopefully like flesh out Ultimacia more.
Hmm.
um but yeah, I guess my answer would be both of them, but like more leaning towards like the Idia side of like Ultimacia, because like I feel like I don't really like the light. Like I think that's kind of where like 8 loses steam for me, even though like I love the game. It's like when like Edia's like Matron again, and then like like Renoa's like in the coma. Like I kind of don't like that like side of like Ultimacia, where she's kind of like biding time in Renoa. That's kind of like boring. So like disc one into like disc two,
Hmm.
Ultimacia is cooler.
Yeah. So, did Squall die at the end of this one?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I don't like that theory. I don't like any of the Final Fantasy 8 theories, but to each their own.
Like, what's the other one that Rinoa is
Run. Yeah, you're saying it. Go ahead.
that she's Ultimacia?
Yeah, like I find most of the theories are made by people that I don't think they like 8, or like maybe they do, but I feel like the people who like push them or people who don't like 8, or
Yeah.
like a lot of the people who are
Like,
go like Renoa
they
sucks,
wanted
but
to
like
sound
oh
stupid.
well, I not even that. Like I feel like it's just, and I don't want to go on, like a tangent about 8, but I feel like a lot of people like don't get like the themes and like what it's going for. So like people will be like, oh, Renoa's like stupid and boring and like annoying, but like oh, if she was like Ultimacia, then like that would make her interesting, and it's like
I
no,
guess
like she's.
if you want to go on a tangent on Edge, you can, because really, like we said, there's some things we can talk about, about events that happened not too long ago. But there's
Mhm.
not much to say. Like, it's funny, in my word file in front of me, I have a bunch of talking points, and I have a point called Forspoken, and underneath it there's nothing. So
Yeah, this
you can
is
use
really just an overview.
you can use the Forspoken time to talk about 8. So
Well,
you go ahead.
I guess we can also talk about like, because I don't know if we ever got a chance to talk about, like for the audience, about how a while ago there was like this big leak. It's like the NVIDIA like GeForce leak,
Yeah,
and that like there are a lot of games on there, and the list is real, but the question is how many of the games are real? Like, because some might just be like random placeholders to represent something. So
true.
for Square Enix, like at the top of my head, some of the games are like a Chrono Cross, like I think remaster, a Final Fantasy 9
Hmm.
remake. I think there was something with Final Fantasy Tactics. There was something, I think Tomb
Yeah.
Raider Anniversary 2021,
Uh,
and then I think like some other things. Um, and so obviously with the Final Fantasy 9 remake, I think most people with like reasonable people, like I think agree that like a Final Fantasy 9 remake, like if that is real, it's nowhere like it's not like a Final Fantasy 7 remake thing. And
Yeah.
I don't even mean like graphically, I just mean like in terms of scale. Like
Yeah,
I don't
you're
think
right.
like
I don't think
yeah.
they'd go for that because there's no way they can win with anyone by remaking it at the same level of graphical fidelity as Seven remake. Uh, the character models just if they end up doing the same graphics as Seven remake and then keep the character models like they are in the original nine, I don't think it's gonna come off great. And if they decide to modernize the character models, then you have the purist who will just throw a fit.
Well, for me, it wasn't even like in terms of like the graphics. I just like I don't think like a Final Fantasy 9 remake would be like this thing where like Alexandria or like like the it turns into like a 40-hour like game. Like they turn like the beginning into like 30 hours or something, and
Oh
it's like
yeah,
broken up in parts.
yeah,
Like, but I agree with you. Like I don't see them like because one like the art style isn't meant for that. Like it's meant to like harken back to like a certain era. So like I don't see like
yeah,
Zidane looking like Squall. Like I think most people agree like Zidane and like Dissidia looks weird. So like he's not meant to be in like a realistic style, and like he just doesn't fit into it. So like I definitely agree. Like personally I think like if this is real then it's like Crash Bandicoot or like the Spyro like remasters that are basically just remakes. Like I see it being something like that.
yeah. Um, I'd personally be down for all four games you just listed, uh,
Mhm.
especially Chrono Cross remake. I would really like see that happening. And Tactics too. I've never had the chance to play it, so I've been
Mhm. Neither.
waiting. I've been waiting for a remake for a long time, man. I still
Mhm.
waiting.
Yeah, I guess for me the question is, do you think like if this remake for 9 is real, but it's like a smaller scale thing. And another thing I also want to mention is that like Square Enix has like a bad habit of like throwing like slapping on titles for things, and the title doesn't match the quality of what's actually happening. Like the Final Fantasy 8 remaster, I think it being called a remaster, I think got people a lot more excited than what it like they expected more, including
Yeah,
me. Like I thought like I didn't expect like I didn't expect anything like insane, but I thought like this would be like a port that like it wouldn't be like the 9 one where like they just changed the models but like the backgrounds still suck. Like I thought like we would get like updated like backgrounds and stuff
I
like
remember.
that, but it,
Yeah,
it
and some
just
people expected voice acting too.
yeah, I thought that was yeah, like for me, I know like that was like a whole thing. I never expected that personally, but like I at least expected like when you see like modders making like these AI like backgrounds that like clean it up. I thought we'd get something like that, and then it turned out that it was just an HD port, like 9 and like
Yep.
7.
I think they got away with it because they called it a remaster. I don't think they can get away with it with nine if they call it a remake and then just do an upscale of the other one. Like that's
Yeah,
the remake. A remake is different than a remaster.
yeah, and I know like some people like I've seen some people on like Resetera like say like, oh, it's just gonna be like um basically what you said. Like it's not gonna be like this drastic thing, and I mean, we'll see. And that's if it's true. I mean, I would love like a Final Fantasy 9 remake. I'm just shocked that like
There isn't one.
I mean Yeah, like they're like like it's a possibility, but I guess it makes sense when you think about how like they announce there's gonna be an animated show, and like that would be like a good tie-in to like say like, hey, do you want to? Here's a show. It has a game too. Like who knows? Because I think that's the theory of what's happening. There were theories with the first Last of Us getting a remake, and people were arguing if it's too soon for that. But the other part of it is, well, there's the HBO show, and they might be like wanting a remake to like, build off hype of just be like, hey, for either show watchers to say, hey, there's this
Yeah.
game you can buy too, and then for the gamers to be like, hey, you remember this game you love? There's a show now, go watch it. So like, it all helps each other. So like, I could see the Final Fantasy 9 thing being a
Yeah.
similar situation. I guess the question I would pose to you is that like, if this is real and we're getting a 9 remake, but it's like a smaller scale thing, do you think that like that leaves room for like 6, like Final Fantasy 6 or 8 to be the next games to be like to get like the Final Fantasy 7 treatment in terms of like a big remake?
Yeah. You remember not too long ago there was a rumor about the Final Fantasy project uh, that said that every PlayStation Final Fantasy game was going to get the same treatment as Seven remake. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, I think it'd be pretty hard to do them all currently. With the resources
Oh
they
yeah, I
have.
don't think it'd be current. No.
Yeah, but if I could see them announcing something next year,
Mhm.
for the 35th anniversary of the series.
Mhm.
Uh, your question was, out of the three, or I guess you also mentioned sixth. Which one, uh, I think would get a remake first? Is that your question?
Well, it's more so that like I guess because there's I wouldn't say a debate, but there's always been like the question of like, okay, Seven's got a remake, and like in my opinion, no other game was gonna get like a big remake until Seven got it first. So Seven's getting it. That
Yeah.
means like the door is open for like any other game, and like we've gotten like different creatives, like Square Enix, kind of like mention different remakes or at least wanting to do them. Like Nomura, before like the Seven remake was even out, like he mentioned once the Seven remake is done, he
Mhm.
would like to do a Six remake, and then
Sure.
Katas.
Well, I guess
Go ahead.
personally, if I were to choose, I'd pick eight. That's the one
Yeah.
I. But logically speaking, I think with the fan following that the entries have, I think six makes more sense.
But the thing is though is that does it though? Because it's like I mean it's very weird of like I feel like there's internet popularity and then there's like the general like casual like the I would say the real popularity of
Mm.
like some of these games of um like for years I feel like 6 has been like touted as like oh this is like the fan favorite like next to 7 and then
On the
like
internet,
Katas will
like you
be in an
said,
interview.
yeah.
Yeah, like Toss will be like, "Well, y'all didn't show up to buy it." So like he was, and then I think like he was like, it's popular more in the West. Like I think in Japan it's not as popular, but then there was that. And again, this is just a poll, but like I think this poll had at least like I think maybe I can't remember the exact number. I don't know if it was 500,000, but like I know that they did that big like Japan poll where it was like the results were like televised on like the news and stuff like that with like Final Fantasy, and I think the rankings for like the top like the games like 10 won like
Yep.
it beat out 7, which is like a big deal.
Yeah.
um,
Ten is
but
big in
I feel
Japan.
like
Yeah.
10 is more popular over there.
Yeah.
Um, 10 won, then it was 7, and I think it was 6, and then I'm not sure of the exact order after that, but I know 9 beat out 8. Like so and I know for the characters at least, Like the top characters were like Clout and number one, and then I think it was Yuna for number two, and then Eris. And I know like Zidane and like Vivi were like in the top 10,
Yeah.
whereas like Squall was probably like maybe like 11 or 12. So like I feel like I feel like perception of like these games and like their popularity, like it's kind of hard to like quantify these days. um like which one is like quote unquote more popular. I like honestly, in my opinion, I kind of feel like at the moment it's kind of really like what's in the public's eye too.
Like you said,
So
it's
it's
you nailed it. It's an internet thing.
mhm
The thing is, nowadays, like gaming companies, they listen a lot to what's been said, to what the internet says. Like
mhm
the we're gonna talk about it later. Like the announcement of Sora in Smash
mhm
was
mhm
completely based on a poll that uh, Nintendo did a long time ago, and where Sora ranked first.
mhm
So I like you said, there's no way to tell what's more popular, what's the most popular entry in Final Fantasy after seven. Of course, we know
I think, well,
from
I think 10 is like the definite number two. Like I think after 10 it gets kind of like unsure.
yeah.
But I definitely think like 7 and 10 are like the definite like top two in my opinion.
Yeah, and, a remake of 10 is it's maybe a bit too soon for 10 to get a remake.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why they're toying with the sequel, but we
yeah.
know what happened with that. So
So yeah, I think if any game is going to get the 7 treatment next, it's probably going to be 6. That's in my opinion, of course. Which one do you think?
yeah.
I know you'd
I
want
mean,
8 like me, but
I think I want 8, but I also think we're like, and this is kind of like a personal concern for me, just as like, like, and I don't want to get into like the whole debate where like I know there's been like people who have like commented like I remember somebody on Era once said in like a thread that, like some of y'all are like just fans of like a Pacific game and aren't like actual Final Fantasy fans, and people got mad. But I do think like that is a thing where like some people just care. Like my brother, for instance, like he played eight, like he goes back to it every couple of years and like replays it, and that's the only one he cares about, and that's completely fine.
yeah.
And um I feel like, to me, like there's games in the series I don't like, but I feel like as a whole I love the series. I love like most of the games, and so like I do have this concern about how like some of the characters like and like the legacy of certain games are like forgotten about the older they get, and I kind of feel like games pre 7 kind of like fade into oblivion because there's people who just they don't want to play games that look like that. And so I do think like there is kind of like an importance of like modernizing these games for like newer people. So I would say like 6 was definitely a game that I think deserves to be like remade. Like I don't understand like the whole like wanting like an Octopath like Traveler thing, because it's just like you're just gonna appeal to like the people who would have played like a regular version of the game. Like I think remakes need to appeal to like a greater audience, based people who wouldn't have played it before. And that's what remake did. Like I knew people who were like, I'm never touching the original 7. It looks terrible. I don't want to play it. But then they're like, I'll wait for a remake. And they did, and they got it, and they played it and loved it. So it's just like I think that's more important. Like I do think an 8 remake is gonna come. I hope it's not when I'm like 50, but I do think it's gonna come. It's just I think it's a question of when. And I also think that like I don't think we're gonna get like a 7 style remake in terms of like the scale. When I say scale, I mean like them making like possibly like 3 games out of this. Like I don't think that's gonna happen with like other games going forward, especially as like technology gets better too. Or like
Yeah.
maybe they can just like make bigger worlds in like one game or something like that. So
Here's the
I
thing.
don't know.
I think it's the other way around. The more they advance in technology, the more demanding these games are going to be because of the graphical fidelity. The harder it's going to be to develop them, and that's been the the tendency with games.
Well, I think that goes into like another tangent of just like I that's like the whole question of like how sustainable is like the video game industry, and I think there is going to be a point where it's going to be like y'all can't keep making games the same way anymore.
Yeah.
So I think I'm looking at it from like that perspective of like there's gonna be a wall hit where it's like
I
you can't keep like constantly outsorting like these games like these huge games that are costing like millions of dollars and like outsorting it or outsourcing it to like different devs. So like I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I do feel
No, no,
like
you're right. You're right. But
yeah.
I also think that gamers should start understanding how the realities of development work. Like
Yeah, yeah.
the most recent example, for example, is Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
Mhm.
uh, people were, some people were disappointed that there wasn't a fully playable party, and as it appears with the scale they're going for, it wouldn't have been possible for them. Like the devs have to compromise in order to get their games out under a certain timeline and with a defined budget.
I guess my counterpoint, like I agree with you. So like this isn't like what I'm about to say isn't me like disagreeing, but I guess my counterpoint is that like we also live in an age where like Fortnite, and I mean that's like a multiplayer game and stuff like that. So like it's popular for like different reasons, but I feel like we live in a world where like mobile like people mobile games like the Final Fantasy mobile games I'm pretty sure make more money than like the single player ones. Like I could like you could correct me if I'm wrong because I think you pay attention to like the
You know,
financials of like
you mean Brave Exodus and yeah,
yeah like I'm pretty sure like collectively like they make more money than like
yeah.
yeah. So like so I feel like when we live in a world where like these gotcha games and like that don't take that many resources. We're making more money than like these high budget single player games. And I feel like there has to be a point where it's like, well, are you really like is these like big showcases like graphically? Because like yeah, like I love my Final Fantasies to look good and stuff like that. But like I would play like a Final Fantasy 9 remake that I would want it to look good. But like when you see like these people who make like demos of like Final Fantasy 9 like and like Unreal and stuff, like I would play a Final Fantasy. Like I would pay $60 for that. And I mean, I just have to wonder like maybe the priority shouldn't be on like making these like
You're
high
right.
fidelity
You're
like
right.
grand scale games, but maybe that's just me. Like I
No,
don't know.
I could see, I can see where you're coming from, but I also think that it's not just about graphics. It's about everything else
Mhm.
that's high production, like the music.
Mhm.
We know Square throws a lot of money at
Mhm.
orchestrations, etc. Voice
Mhm.
acting, the overall
Mhm.
scale of the game, which is what they had to compromise, for example, 4.7 remake in order to have a fully playable party, because there was no way
Mhm.
anyone was going to come to terms with the fact that, for example, only Cloud was playable. That wasn't going to
Mhm.
happen. So they had to
Mhm.
compromise somewhere else, um, and split it into parts.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree. I mean, I feel like there's like this isn't like there's no easy answer for
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
but
it's
I do. Yeah, like it's complicated. You know, like it's complicated,
yeah. I
and
think
I feel like
we avoided talking about this one time because we knew it was going to take a while, and
yeah, yeah,
we
because I mean, and
dedicated an entire podcast.
yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, and I feel like I mean I think we touched on it when like there was like a whole moment where we kind of went on like a defend like Tabata rant
yeah,
where like you know people often call him a liar because of like things he said and things like that. I mean, I've had issues like when you mentioned like the Final Fantasy VII remake of like they had to cut things, but this is a case where I do think I think when you say things in interviews like 3 months before a game releases, then you're just lying. Like to me, I think that's just lies. Like it's not like a oh this was cut like last minute. Like those that's two different things. And like Nomura has done that like in terms of like saying like literally like 2 months. Like I think maybe even less than that, like a month in the interview, like before the remake was dropping of like, oh, you're gonna be able to go to like sectors that like weren't in the original, like completely just weren't
Oh,
in it. And like he said sectors like with a
well,
plural and it's like, well,
I,
that wasn't true.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I know I was gonna say I wasn't there for all of this because I was on blackout. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, and so yeah, like unless you're like a person, and like the average person isn't consuming like all this media, and so that's why I'm like where it becomes complicated because it's like you do want to understand devs and like where they're coming from, and like things have to be cut. Like I feel like with the remake thing, like I get it. Like we wouldn't have gotten a lot of things without like just being transparent, like the characters would have been nowhere near as good if like they would have done like the whole game in like one game. Like just being real, like they all got fleshed out a lot more.
yeah,
Um because they just spent time with Midgar. So it's like it has its pros and cons. Like as much as like fans, including me, like will like complain about things. Like there is a lot of great things like the remake is doing by being split into parts. But I also feel like there are times when like lies are just straight up to like told, and so like it just becomes like I don't know, just frustrating. Of like, well, don't try to like hype me up on something that just isn't there.
yeah.
Um, and Square Enix has like a history of doing this. Like I remember following like the and this was more like story stuff versus like like resources. But I remember like Toriyama like said something about like the story in like 13.2 about like the way like it was phrased in like a very definite like this is the last game. Like there is going to be like a sequel. Like this is the end of like Lightning's story. And like if you've played 13.2, then like you obviously know like that's not true. And it's like, well, I don't know. It's just don't tell like lies in like interviews. Like I get like you don't want to like spoil things, but it's just kind of like I don't know. It's just a very like complex like conversation about like devs communicating with fans and how that all happens. But like we're probably spending too much time on this,
No, it's fine.
so like I don't know if you want
I
if you
actually didn't know about that, so that's
yeah.
that's good to know.
Yeah, so so it's just interesting, and it's like I've actually tried to like find that interview, like since because it's like I know like I remember reading it and stuff like that, but like it's stuff gets lost and it just happens.
Yep.
And I don't remember the exact website to like do like a wayback machine, but like it's just sometimes they just say things and it's like I don't know if it's like maybe translation issues, maybe things are getting lost in the shuffle, but like
Yeah,
some of these
that
statements are
happens a
like
lot.
very
Yeah.
definite. Yeah. So it's just I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, like in terms of like a 8 remake, like I do feel like I guess just my lasting thoughts is that like an 8 remake I think is a game that would need to be split into parts. And the reason I say this kind of goes into how we started this conversation actually was like you wanting to hear my thoughts on like people kind of like missing the point on like how some of the characters are written in 8 is because I like outside of like Squall and Renoa, like a lot of the characters don't get development. So like we need more time with like Selfie and like Zell. Like they need to be fleshed out more in general. Like how like the remake fleshes out everybody and like when I say fleshing out, like Aerith, Tifa, and Barrett and Cloud, they're already great characters. They just elevated them more in the remake, whereas like at 8, it's kind of like the characters like they're likable, but like I want more and they need more. And as far as like Squall and Renoa, like I feel like with Renoa, like a lot of people kind of like miss the point that like she's kind of this like she's equivalent of like a military brat of like usually like military brats like they move around blah 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 and like her mom is like dies at like a very young age, and I feel like her and Squall basically kind of connect with like this feeling of abandonment because like her father is like never around and stuff like that. And then with Squall, like people call him like emo and stuff.
Yeah.
And then like I've actually like have had like conversations about this on Era where like people actually walk back on like calling him emo when like you explain to them like what's going on
Yeah.
with him in terms of like he's like yeah like he's a jerk but like he's a jerk because like he has like abandonment issues like he literally like didn't have a family, like he doesn't know his mother, like the one family he did have like alone, it's like she's gone, like he doesn't know where she is, and so like
Yeah.
he rejects people
It's
in order to not get hurt. And
it's
like
it's tradition at this point. I feel every Final Fantasy main protagonist gets called emo at some point by someone.
yeah, like it's like
Like
a bingo card, yeah.
yeah, yeah, maybe there's just Zidane that never gets called, but
I think
other than that, every other main protagonist is emo for people for some reason.
yeah. Yeah, well I think it's more like if they show like pain, if they're like too into themselves,
Dress in
like with
black.
Cloud. Yeah, like with Cloud and like Advent Children is not a good movie. Like it's not written well, but like I will die on the hill that like Cloud and Advent Children make sense. Like it makes sense for somebody who's like literally had like a mental breakdown and like was thinking that like he had like this false persona of himself and like all this, like it makes sense for somebody to be
Yeah,
depressed and have like PTSD after that
true.
and like be scared of like losing like the one happiness that they have, like that to me. I think the problem is more so like in Kingdom Hearts and like them kind of like I think them putting that persona on him in like other cameos, I think that's the problem. But like when people say like, "Oh, he's emo," and like Avon Children, it's like he's depressed, like
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that also just has issues of like, um, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this as a man. Like we're getting like really deep this episode of like men like where like emotions and like sensitivity is like considered a weakness because like
Well,
Titus is another character
yeah.
where that
uh,
like
these are what you're talking about is basically what my favorite parts of the games. Like this was my favorite part in Final Fantasy 15.
mhm
The bond the three friends had,
mhm
and the ending was very emotional.
mhm
Like you said, Titus as well. No, I definitely think that this is not something that makes a character emo. No, not at all.
mhm yeah, and like it's just very like interesting because like I feel like I don't like I'm trying to think of, like if any other like Square Enix titles really like delves into this as much as Final Fantasy because I don't want to like hyper focus on Final
The
Fantasy,
Quiet
but
Man.
I'm failing. Yeah, I'm failing to think of like other examples, but like I feel like there's like this reoccurring thing of like when like a male character like is emotional or like shows emotion, he's considered like weak or like emo versus like the characters that are kind of like jerks and like the strongman type even are like praised. Like a good example of that is like Jet in like 10 of like you'll see fans being like, "Oh, Titus, like Titus sucks, like he's a crybaby," and like Jet is so awesome, and it's like, well, like he was kind of like a borderline verbally abusive dad
Yeah.
and like a terrible father, and like people like praise him. Like it just feels like people like miss the point of like why Titus hates him, even though he has like valid reasons of like disliking his own father. Like obviously he gets over that in the game, and like there's other examples like with Sid in Seven where he's kind of like a lot of people like defend him being like verbally abusive to like Shira. And it's I don't know, like it's weird. Like it's like a reoccurring thing I've seen with like how people, especially like other male fans, like treat and like I guess engage with like the themes with some of these male characters. I don't know if I'm reading too deep into it or like if you see it too, but like even with 15, where like a lot of like you would kind of see like homophobic things said about like the male party in 15, or like because they appeal to women that makes them weak or something, like the whole like boy band thing, or like they look like K-poppers, and it's I don't know, it's very
These are
weird.
people
Like,
that just wanted their waifu in the parties. That's
well, you know me, I wanted women too, but
not the same thing. You know what
I
I
know,
mean?
I'm joking, yeah. But no, so I don't know if you have like any lasting thoughts. Like I feel like we got really deep there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. About what we were talking about, what would get a remake, right?
Hmm.
Like I said, I want, my heart says 8, my brain says 6.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I also like, I really like one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters has like come from that game. So it's kind of like for me, I would love if six got remade. I would love like spoilers for Final Fantasy 6 if you haven't played it, because at this point
Yeah.
there's a part where like technically there's not like a main protagonist in 6. Like they've said it like there isn't really supposed to be, but like Terra is kind of like
She
she's
is.
the face of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she's the main character. But like technically the main character switches at a certain, like you can beat the game, like spoilers, without like having Terra like in your party at the end, because it switches like that. So like for me, I would really love if like they actually like split it in parts, where like the like part one gets released and it's just the world of balance, and part two is like the world of ruin. And they can like really market
Interesting.
it as
Yeah.
like, yeah, like Terra and Celeste kind of being the dual here like heroines in a way. Like I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I guess now now that we've kind of just had like a free for all like topic on various
Yep.
things, we can go on the actual topic for the show, which is the Tokyo Game
Yes, we
Show.
can start with that. Yes.
Yeah, which was a bust. Like just to get it out the way, like it wasn't good. So,
Yeah.
um, um, I guess just to go into it, they didn't show 16 like Final Fantasy 16. I think most people like anyone who like really like took him like Yoshi P said like it wasn't gonna be there, and it wasn't. And then I think you can tell me if you agree or not. I kind of went in thinking like, oh, this is Forspoken's time. Like Forspoken is gonna be
We
like
all thought
the
that. Yeah.
big show. So do you agree with that?
That it was Forspoken's big show. No, it wasn't.
Uh,
That we
no,
thought
I
it
meant
was
like
going to be.
going in.
Yes, yes, yes,
No,
definitely.
yeah, like going in,
Yeah,
like you thought it was going to. Yeah.
I think we talked about it. We
Yeah.
thought that it was
Yes.
going to be the big blowout for Forspoken.
Yeah.
There
And it
wasn't.
wasn't that at all.
It's a bit sad that 16 got more info during that period than Forspoken, and 16 wasn't even at TGS. That's what's a little sad. You know how 16 had this meeting between Yoshida and Sakaguchi.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
around that time, and Yoshida said a few things about the game, that's still more info than we got for Spoken at DGS. That's a little bit sad.
Yeah. It is when thinking about it. I think for me watching it, there was a lot wrong with it. Like one, it being like I think it was live, so like the translator was like
Oh,
translating on
that
the
poor
spot, and they only had
that
yeah,
poor
like they only
translator.
it was yeah, like it was very reminiscent of like the Dragon Quest anniversary thing they had
Exactly.
a couple
Yeah.
months ago.
Yep.
Yeah, where like they just have one translator who's having to translate multiple people, and there's no breaks, and like it was bad.
She was fighting for her
Like
life, man. Yeah.
yeah, she was fine. The one positive that like a lot of people were being very nice in the chat and giving her lots of support,
Yep.
which was good. I think another issue for me was that it reminded me of like I think the active time reports, like the ATRs with 15, but like in the worst way of possible, of like it
Yeah.
being this
Uh,
like it
a little bit.
go ahead.
The some things were you could salvage a few things from even the bad ATRs, except the one
Mhm.
where they canceled every every DLC. But yeah,
Yeah.
the Forspoken live event didn't really have anything
No, it was just them
except a few,
talking.
and the maybe a few concept art, which was cool, I guess.
Well, even then, like I feel like it was kind of what we said at the very start of this episode of like it was a lot of noise, it was a lot of talking, but there was nothing of quality, like nothing of substance there.
Yeah,
Um, which is it was just a very baffling choice because I thought like them saying like we got like the whole like trailer at like the PS5 showcase of like them at least releasing like a release range or at least window of like when it'll be like coming out. I thought like the Tokyo Game Show would be like kind of like I guess I thought it would be like how they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake, where like we got like that one trailer at the State of Play, and then E3 was like when it really popped off, where like the marketing really began. Where I feel like nothing's changed for Spoken. Like I feel like even after the Tokyo Game Show, like the Twitter is still like doing random tweets at like one frame of a trailer, and it's just very baffling to me, especially when this game is supposed to come out in like spring. So
mm, yeah. I I think that um, maybe they think it's still they want to announce maybe the final release date and not a release. Uh, what was it in spring? Yeah, like you said.
well, yeah, the window,
Maybe
yeah.
they want to have a release date first. I don't know. I don't know. It seemed like the game is pretty much not pretty much almost done. So yeah, it was a weird decision, definitely.
Yeah, I do, and like obviously you always have to remember there's the elephant in the room, COVID. You know, things change and things get slowed down. So I kind of feel like while we're already talking about this, we might as well go over like PlayStation had like another state of play and like 16 wasn't there, which I feel like if you're paying attention to what Yoshi P said,
Yeah.
it wasn't going like
It was never
it,
going to
it
be
being
there,
there didn't, yeah, like it
especially
was never gonna be
when
there.
they announced that it was only 20 minutes long. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't going to
yeah,
be
like
there.
yeah, like it didn't make sense for it to be there. So I feel like there's her spoken, which again is supposed to be coming out in spring. Which I mean, if we're being technical, technically spring doesn't really start in like May. I don't know if like, for businesses, their version of, I know there's like quarters, so like their version of spring can be like,
Spring includes both this fiscal year and the next one.
okay. So, they technically do have like a lot of time, but I guess I just think for like a new IP, your marketing and like how you present this game should be really on
Yeah,
point.
they said
And I do feel,
it was going to be. It's a big deal for them internally. So yeah,
yeah, and I feel like the marketing has been kind of lacking or like so far like I mean this game looks cool, don't get me wrong, but I do have to ask myself like if this protagonist wasn't black, would I care as much?
yeah.
And so like for me it's kind of like I'm in for that alone, but I have to wonder like if I'm being objective, I take out like that aspect of it and like yeah, the combat looks cool. It's like has the marketing really sold me on this game?
Well,
It's kind of like
think
no.
other than the fact that it's a pretty unconventional and not really something that Square Enix would usually, work on.
Do, yeah. That part
I
too,
think
yeah.
the fact that it's a black protagonist and it's a female protagonist, in the Square Enix games. It's also the fact that that they have an international writing team that's intriguing me. Like I really want to see the result of such a project coming from them.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess for me, I'm trying to think of more of like a casual, like a casual person who probably doesn't know or care about any of that. Like they just look at the trailer, like they just tune in for like the showcases. They see the trailer, and then that's all they see. And I just think about how like what have they shown to really like hook you in? Because like a good example of this would be like Horizon Zero Dawn. Like that was a new IP, and like the hook is like, there's this girl and like she's fighting like robot dinosaurs, and it's like, okay, that's really different. And it's like the gameplay aspect of like Forspoken is
Mm.
different, but I feel like nothing about the
Oh,
story
she's
that they've
fighting
shown.
dragons and monster bears and she's swearing at them. That's cool, right?
I mean, but I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like the I guess just objectively, I just kind of
I
like
get it.
wonder
I get
like
it.
what is the hook that they've drawn in, and I can't really think of one
Mm,
besides like you know
yeah, I guess
at least
the traversal is cool. Mine
yeah, like the
so.
traversal is cool. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Like and again, there's like I'm not trying to be like a downer. Like there's definite things about Forspoken to be excited
yeah,
about,
I
but I
get it.
guess I just want to see this game succeed. And I guess like for me, like I just wonder like how have they been like marketing it well
Not
for it to
not really.
succeed, hopefully.
Not really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say the marketing has kicked off. Honestly, we can't even pre-order it yet. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, like the marketing it hasn't started. And I guess my question is should it like
it should
why
have.
hasn't it started?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I
yeah.
like you said, it's the case of Forspoken is pretty baffling. Like for 16, we already kind of know why marketing hasn't kicked off. It's because of Endwalker, which is currently in uh, full full
Marketing.
full marketing, and it's releasing in 19 days. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting 16's marketing campaign to kick off after that. For Spoken though, I have no clue. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, and I guess that's my like concern. It's just like what's going on. I mean, I don't think this game is like in trouble or anything, but it just feels like baffling choices are being made, and baffling choices should be made when you're handling a new IP,
Maybe they
especially
were
one where like, yeah, like
just
one of this importance in my opinion.
just thinking out loud. Maybe they were waiting for Guardians of the Galaxy to release, since they consider it's a Western effort. Forspoken to be a Western effort as well. So maybe that.
I mean, Tomb Raider was waiting for Guardians at least to celebrate its own anniversary, and all they came out with
Oh
was
no,
like an update on a mobile game. So
really?
like,
I
yeah, it was terrible. Like
oh
it
no,
was all just like yeah, like it was
oh
it
no.
was like just to go I guess on a rundown at the top of my head. There was like an update about the mobile game about how like the original three voice actors. Which I mean that's cool. Like in like the first three games, they were coming back and there would be like an option of like you can change Laura's voice in the game to one of them. But then it's like it's limited, so it's like well, you can't even get fully excited because it's only a limited thing. Apparently, I guess it's like contract things, but it's like I don't know. Like they didn't announce games, and it's like Tomb Raider is a game franchise. Like we're here for like games, and they didn't announce anything of like substance. Like there was like an update on like the new anime of like how like they got two voice actors or like some like Zip and like I guess Jorah's coming back. It was nothing like anybody who like cares about games would care about. So yeah, it
Uh,
was terrible.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think the Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't. I don't think it means anything because
yeah,
again, like
maybe,
yeah.
maybe, probably.
Yeah. So, um, I mean, yeah, like I don't really have anything else to say about Forspoken besides like
Like I said,
just
I have my talking points in front of me. It's empty, man. I have nothing to say. But
yeah, like it's yeah.
TGS did
uh,
have another highlight from Square Enix. You remember?
uh unfortunately, yeah, you could go into it. I'll let you
I
take this one
I
away.
there's not like we said at the start. There's not much to say. Like Final Fantasy Origins got a trailer and a new trial, and that's it. I didn't even try the trial. Like I
Oh,
didn't.
you didn't?
No, I didn't have the time. But feedback's been it's been pretty good from what I've seen. Graphically, maybe slightly better, but still not great. I hear they had uh, higher quality assets for this one, but it still
Hmm.
runs pretty poop. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like the only thing of interest
and the release
for
date,
this
man.
game. Yeah, like I'm not buying this game. Like I've tuned it out, but like the only thing I've like, I mean, like I just want everybody to know where I stand. Like I don't care.
It's fine.
I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it because I have to. But like the only interesting thing about this game for me personally, and like it's not even like an interesting of like oh like ooh, like what's going on here. It's just kind of like
Morbid
it just feels
curiosity.
like yeah, like it's a morbid curiosity. Like it feels like Square Enix like pulling a Square Enix of like the whole thing about like I think there was like a close thing that people played, and I remember somebody like an not like an insider, like it was like a journalist like saying that like there was a part where like they played like 13 music, like it was like
Yeah,
the Sunlift like
it's.
waterscape music or
I
something.
think it was also in the trial
Oh, it
that
was in
people
the
played.
trial. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
they even had the same mini game, uh, or something
okay.
to do with the weather uh, to interact with in that segment of the game. Uh, yeah, what did you think about this?
I mean, I think like I mean, I think it's cool, like in a fan service way. Like, I mean, if they get like new Final Fantasy tracks, it's like based on like 13 and like some other games. Like, I'll listen. Like, if it's good, I'll listen to it. So,
Yeah.
so like I'm like
Well,
I
what
just
I meant was more, with the implication that there might be more than what was in the trial, for other Final Fantasy game.
oh yeah yeah okay yeah I guess it ties back to what I said before of like I think it's Square Enix pulling a Square Enix in terms of like wasn't there something about how like like Dissidia is like
Yeah,
tied to everything and like
yeah,
all the worlds are connected like
yeah.
I expect it to be like I expect it to be something like that where it's like I'm just gonna like tune it out because like I feel like specifically like Nomura and Co like they just really like that like trying to like tie everything together like
Yeah,
I don't get
but
why but like
hear
the,
me out. Like, compared to the premise, the bland premise that we initially thought was just these three random guys in Final Fantasy One world. The implication that there might be more to that. Like, it kind of
I mean I
well,
think it would be interesting if it was like different. Cause I mean, cause technically other games like World of Final Fantasy like does this, like, cause like in terms of like if they're gonna do this thing where like maybe different areas are like literally based off like other games in the series, well it's like well like like Final like World of Final Fantasy had like Midgar and like stuff like that. So like
yes,
technically other
exactly.
games have like done this, so it's kind of like I mean it's like I don't know maybe I'm just being like jaded, but like I guess I just don't see them like maybe they'll do something interesting, but like I don't think it's gonna like amount to anything. But like
Yeah,
that's just me.
probably, but
Yeah.
even if it doesn't amount to anything, for me, it's still better than what we initially thought it was going to be. Because, like, it
Yeah,
can.
yeah, for sure.
That's all
Yeah.
I meant.
I, Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, I guess for me, I'm kind of just disappointed because like I would have just liked a game that was just the Final Fantasy One world. Like, it didn't have to be tied to like anything, but like I think like the entire like premise of what they're going with just doesn't vibe with me. So it makes it hard to like find. anything else they're doing interesting that could be interesting. Like
Yeah.
take a shot every time I say interesting. But like if it was like a world of Final Fan like not world of Final Fan. If you were like creating like your own Warrior of Light or even just playing as like the default Warrior of Light and it was combining like different elements of Final Fantasy like and other titles, I would probably be down with it because I would just be more down with like the actual concept. But like this whole thing of like this guy becoming chaos and like I don't know, it just doesn't vibe with me. Like I know there's like a girl now, but like I just it just doesn't vibe with me. I don't know. Like for people who are excited, I'm excited for you. I hope you enjoy the game, but like I don't know. It just doesn't speak to me. Like I guess as a Final Fantasy fan.
I guess for me, it just makes makes the game slightly more interesting now that we know that, especially considering the year it's releasing in, 2022, the series' 35th anniversary.
Yeah, that's valid. Which kind of like raises a question of like I don't know if we've talked about this in previous episodes. You can remind me if you remember. But like what do you expect from the 30th, the 35th anniversary like next year?
Well, other than Origin,
Or
I'm
than
pretty
that.
sure we're getting something for Seven as well, since it's
Yeah, yeah.
the 25th of Seven in the same year.
I thought I thought the 25th anniversary. Oh yeah, and yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking of the 10th anniversary, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Uh,
Um
they might have other surprises, like the Nine remaster, the remake, for example, or other remakes.
I hope so cuz I feel like there's been kind of like this trend of like because like last year for the 30th, not last year, but the last anniversary, the 30th anniversary
Oof,
was
yeah,
kind of like it sucked.
I
Yeah, just to get that
remember.
out of the way, like
I
it did.
remember.
Yeah, it sucked. But also like they just kind of gave like a nothing update on 7.
Yeah, didn't
But
we get
I just
that render of Sephiroth?
yeah.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, it
that
was really random.
great day, that awesome day.
Yeah. So like obviously I feel like, if they do show like an actual trailer cuz I know like Nomura wanted to show part 2 this year, but like Katas told him no, which I think that was the right decision.
Mhm.
But like if they do show something or maybe just do another render of like the party cuz like I think if they just did a render of like the entire party like including like the new designs of like Sid and like Vincent and like Katsev,
Yeah,
I think that would be I mean, it wouldn't be like hype, but like at least I think that would be like exciting just because like at least the implications of that would be like we're getting all the party members for the next part.
yeah.
I don't know if they would do that, but I would be okay with like a render like
I,
that if they
I,
didn't have anything to
I'd
show.
imagine that we'd be getting more than that. I'd
I
also
agree,
imagine
yeah,
that by that time, hopefully, the game known as Final Fantasy 16 will have released by then.
yeah.
So they can
well,
finally show more about Seven Mech. Yeah, go ahead.
well, didn't they? Because I feel like when they did like the last anniversary when they did the anniversary stream, it was like in January, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, like I thought it was really early in the year.
Well,
Maybe I'm wrong.
maybe I'm not specifically talking about a special single event. You know, they have the
Oh, okay,
whole year
okay, okay. That's
announcement.
what.
Yeah,
Oh, that's what I was thinking about because I feel because maybe I'm expecting the worst, but that's
I
kind of like I
I
was
don't
thinking
remember
like they would just
actually. You might be right.
yeah, yeah, because the reason they did the 7 render for the stream was because it was like I don't know if it was like the exact like date of like Seven's release in Japan, but like I think if I remember correctly, like Seven released in Japan in like January or something like that. I
Yeah,
think, and like when
probably.
they had the 30th anniversary stream, I think it was in January, but I could be
Probably.
misremembering.
You're probably right. I yeah.
Okay.
I I'm gonna give them the whole year. They earned that. It's been 35
But
years of Final Fantasy. They earned that.
Well, yeah, if they do the whole year, then great. I guess it's just for me, like, and again, this ties into like the Tomb Raider anniversary. Like they did a year long celebration, and they've been releasing like art for each game, and like behind the scenes stuff
Cooking
for each
books.
game. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like at the end of the day, these are like video game franchises, and for me, it's kind of like if there aren't, and like obviously we know about Origins, but it's kind of like, well, you ain't got like big updates about the games. I don't want a year long celebration because it's like, well, you're just wasting everybody's time. Like that's what this Tomb Raider anniversary thing is. Like it's been cool seeing like all the art, but it's like y'all don't have any games to announce. Like I know they've confirmed that like they're at least working like I guess on like Tomb Raider 12.
Hmm.
Like it's just too early to show, but it's like they couldn't even do like ports of like the old games or anything. Like that's another thing I forgot. The only game that they did a port, they ported some games to Switch, and instead of it being like the classics, it was like the Laura Croft like it was like these side games like people really don't care about. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
so like they just missed the mark. So
There,
I
there's
guess for
still
me it's just
there still isn't
okay. I'm sorry.
any trilogy, right? People are asking for compilation of. They still haven't done that.
Yeah. No, like they basically just did like a sale. They did a, they there's like a sale, like anything Tomb Raider's on. I think like Xbox, PlayStation, Steam. There's sales everywhere. The thing about Steam, like the only place you can play the classic games are like mobile or like PC. But like apparently like the classics on like PC like aren't like fully working. Like you have to use like fan patches. So it's like you're
Whoa.
celebrating the anniversary to have people buy games that don't even fully work
Uh,
and stuff like that.
okay.
So yeah, like yeah, like you can't play like classic Tomb Raider games on like modern consoles.
Happy
No.
birthday.
Yeah,
Uh,
like that's what people were wanting. But like they
yeah.
didn't even do that. Like yeah.
Rough.
So 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 yeah, like the only games that got ports was like I think it's like the Lara Croft and like the Temple of like Osiris. Like those games, like they it's like two of them. They got like ported to Switch, and it's like I don't want to play that.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I don't want that for like the Final Fantasy like 35th anniversary of like them like making a big deal for like year long, but like there's nothing substantial. It's just give me some remakes, give me this Origins game. Give me like a side, um, like a side
Give me
game because
anything.
I feel like it's
Anything but.
like anything, but don't waste my time. Like if
Yeah.
it's not games, I don't care.
Um,
like as blunt and terrible as that
yeah,
sounds,
I
like that's
feel,
what I'm
man,
here
I
for.
feel like we sometimes we struggle as Final Fantasy fans, but I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for Tomb Raider fans.
It's terrible.
Oh,
Like honestly, like as someone who actually started this year, like I actually thought like the anniversary stuff was like really cool. Like to me, I thought like, well, if they're doing this whole year, then like towards the end, like they're gonna announce some games, they're gonna do something important, and like so far, like I feel like it just actively like lost steam in like real time. Where like I think everybody started off excited, and then I think by like Mayish, like people just didn't care anymore, and it's like where are the games? And
yikes!
then yeah,
But
yeah,
you,
and
you
it's.
guys still have a couple of months, so
I mean, we do,
you
but
hope for the
I
best.
just don't. I just don't think like Square Enix cares about the series. Like I feel like earlier you mentioned like Square Enix cares about music, but it's like, well, they only care about music for like certain titles because they did like a there was like a whole not it wasn't an anniversary concert. I don't think it was, but basically they did like this whole like thing for like the first three games where they brought back the original composer to do like this suite where like um they did that. I forget the name of them. It's like that famous like orchestra in like London. Like 15 did it too. And they had
Philharmonic,
like people No, it's like
Distant Worlds
no, it's like you remember like before 15 came out, they did like the stream
in
or like
in London.
yes, and it's like a famous like orchestra there. And like they
Yeah,
perform there.
Abbey
I
Valley,
don't
Abbey something.
Yeah, like it's Abby something, but I can't remember. But
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about now,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
So, they did the same thing where like I think
Abbey
it
Road.
was like Nathan Mc. Yeah, Abbey Road. Okay,
Ooh.
so I think they had like Nathan McCree. I think he like composed music there, and
Okay.
then they did like a live concert in like London or probably London because obviously she's British. Um, and then they released the album, but they had to do it with like Kickstarter, like fans had to basically fund it, and I just always like seeing that was like weird because it's kind of like Square Enix will release like CDs for anything. Like I feel like the remake has gotten like I don't know how many CDs at this point,
Yeah, but
and like
that's what I was going to say. Like the Japanese side, maybe I should have worded it better. The Japanese side of Square Enix cares a lot about music,
yeah,
even though
yeah, and
Guardians has amazing music. Uh, I know it might not be to everybody's taste. Like I'm an almost boomer, so 80s music is kind of my, kind of my thing. It's really great.
well, I guess when I mean music, it's not even like I guess more like in terms of like the distribution of said music in terms of like albums and stuff like that. Like I feel like if you know, and I don't even have to guess, it has happened. Like Kingdom Hearts, like I've gone to one of the concerts before, and I'm pretty sure at the concert you could buy like the album of what they're performing,
Yeah,
like
same
the
for
orchestration.
near
Yeah, like
Dragon
Distance
Quest.
World
Also,
has
most
it.
probably, yeah, everything
Yeah,
from the Japanese side.
so yeah, so it's just kind of baffling that like they had like this whole like, and I mean, and again, like another thing, like for the Tomb Raider one, like if it was just that one show, which I mean, I get it, like it was just the three games, like it wasn't the whole series, so like they didn't do like a tour, but it just, I don't know, I guess it just baffles me that like fans had to fund that versus like Square Enix just like footing the bill and like we just pay for it, but I don't know,
Hmm.
it just goes to show like I think this year I mean Square Enix has had like way worse years than this. Like this isn't like an awful year for like Square Enix or anything, but I just feel like this is a to me, I feel like this should have been a banger year, not in terms of like releases, but in terms of like information and announcements. And I feel like they really dropped the ball with that. And when it comes to multiple games, like as we said, like the 16 thing has been weird. Like obviously there's Endwalker,
And
but like,
Walker,
I,
yes. I was gonna
but like
say,
yeah, like
like,
well, I
if you're
mean,
playing 14, like you're feasting every day,
well,
probably.
that's one game. I feel like in terms of like the series, like not like multiple series, like I just feel like in terms of like like what we talked about the Forspoken, like the marketing being weird.
Yeah,
Like I feel like with with 16 they said we would get more information in 2021 and the year
it's
isn't over.
happening.
Like we could
It's
get
happening.
something.
I believe.
Yeah. Like we could get something at the end of the year and I mean it would still technically be 2021, but I feel like when you write something like that, like especially when like when that was written, that technically was written like if we get something like at the end of this year, I think when that statement was written, it would have been like over a year. Like if if we do technically get
Yeah,
like a
in
trailer,
September.
um, well, yeah, like if we yeah like if we get a trailer this December, and I think that statement where like Yoshi P said like, oh, expect more things in 2021, and like it would technically have been over the like it would technically like over a year, but like
It's
2 months.
it's
It's not a
probable
lot,
that
but
they delayed something internally, but I
I
I
do. Yeah, I agree.
I think that if it was going to skip this year in terms of information, knowing how Yoshida works, he'd have told us.
Yeah, I just feel like why say that? Like I just don't think like and I mean obviously like they're like devs aren't like beholden to things, but I just feel like don't say that when it's like like the literal end of the year. Like I don't know, I just find that weird. But I also find like the whole way like the video game industry like delivers information. Like I didn't really want to talk about like the state of play that just happened, but like I've seen a lot of people being like, "Oh, that was like an awful state of play," or like even during like watching it, like you see people like complaining about like every single game they show because it's not like some big AA game, and it's like I think those games they deserve to have a showing. Like I think like I hope Sony keeps doing this. Like I hope they keep doing like these 20-minute shows where there's no big banger games, but it's just small platform like these
True.
smaller games that deserve to shine. And because it's like those games need it, but I also feel like a lot of these companies would avoid like people like tuning in and then getting like disappointed if they were just more transparent. Because it's just I feel like it's like a toxic kind of thing, like the video game industry fools of like having people like you don't communicate when a game is going to be
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Like you always want it to be a surprise. So
Yeah.
then people tune in to every single event, hyping it up,
Well,
and then get massively disappointed
you're
because
right.
that game isn't there.
Usually,
So
Sony did a better job at previous state of plays at tempering expectations. I guess they'd come out and say that there will not be any big games or anything like that, and I don't think they did this time. So maybe that's why
hmm
people hyped it more than usual, even though it was only 20 minutes. And they did say it
well,
was going to be third party companies only.
well, I don't even like my statement wasn't really even with that show. It's more just about like these shows in general,
Yeah,
where
yeah, I
like
agree. I agree. I
like
agree.
the Square Enix presents, where it's like tune in, and it's like just tell us. Like I just don't
Uh,
understand like why not just tell people what's there versus just having like again the Square Enix thing. People are hyping the presents during like E3. People are hyping themselves up like 16 is gonna be there, it's blah blah blah, and then it wasn't, and it's like just tell people it's not gonna be
you're
there.
right. You're right.
Like I don't
And
know. Maybe that's just
the
me.
best Square Enix present or best Square Enix E3 show was when they did say what was going to be there, and it was Seven Remake. So you're right.
Yeah, like just keep it real. But I don't know. Like I don't know any industry that does this. Like I feel like with movies, like they just tell you things. Like like I feel like with TV shows, it's like very transparent. I don't know. Like I don't like I guess like
I
I'm sure there's like metrics behind the scenes that
Yeah.
help. That's why they keep doing it. But like to me, it just feels like a it just feels tiresome. Like I don't know. Maybe it's a thing of getting older, but like I've never
My
been a person who was like
Yeah,
super into
my
anything.
take on the subject is that I want to be surprised, but not all
hmm
the time. Like
Yeah.
for back in 2015 when they dropped the 7 remake trailer, like that was
hmm
great. I didn't. I'm glad I didn't have that spoiled for me. But like other things, like after you announce something like 16, it's time to tell us when it's going to be there or not, like that.
Yeah. That's a good clarification because I feel like with announcements, like yeah, like I get the hype, like yeah, like I agree, but I feel like when a game has been announced, like the whole like surprise resurfacing, it's like we know this game exists. Like why are you so like I don't know. It just feels weird. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but tangent aside,
Speaking of
um,
announcements, there's TGA soon.
yeah,
Any? Do you think there will be any world premiere for us starving fans, knowing it will be after Endwalker releases? By the way,
like you mean in terms of like whether do you think like the Japanese side of Square Enix or the Western side of Square Enix?
no, the Japanese.
I mean, I don't see what it could be, and like honestly, like everybody keeps saying like 16 will be there, but it's like the only Square Enix are like in the last time a Square Enix game was there was like 7, and it was the pre-show. And it was like a
Was
bunch
it?
of footage we'd already seen. Yeah, like it wasn't even like the main show. So
Was
like I don't know. Like
wasn't
maybe it will be there, but
didn't Kingdom Hearts 3 have a trailer one time? I might be misremembering.
maybe it did, and I'm just forgetting. Yeah, like I mean, it's been like 4 years, so it probably did. Okay, then yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It's either TGA's or an the Xbox conference, maybe both.
Um,
I forget.
because I remember there was like there was you might be right because I can like Google it real quick, but like I remember I remember there was a trailer. It wasn't the launch trailer, but I know there was like a last trailer that was like really spoilery. So like you may be right, but I know at least for like Final Fantasy VII remake, like it wasn't at the main show.
Yeah, and by then we had like it was almost going to release, and we had plenty of info.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it was. Yeah, like I get why, but I guess I'm just I don't know. Like it just feels like to me the way like they talk about 16 being reshown is that they want it to be a very big deal.
So you're
And
thinking its own event?
yeah, like that's the way like it's being framed to
Yeah.
me. And so I don't see how like a trailer at TG like unless it's like a banger trailer and like if I'm being honest like I feel like cuz I mean the team that's making this game has been like on like 14 and it's like so it's very hard to have like a comparison of like trailers for them because it's like with the MMO it's like different like the CG trailers for like um 14 are like great like I feel like the the Endwalker one is like
Yeah.
one of the best like trailers like Square
True.
Enix has ever done but it's also CG
Yeah.
uh, um and
And
so I
their
guess
the team's launch trailers are as spoilery as any other Square
yeah
Enix launch trailer. Unfortunately, I'll be skipping
yeah
the next one, by the way.
yeah. So I guess just for me, it's like maybe it'll get like this this fire trailer at the Game Awards, and then they start marketing. But like the way it's being, and like people keep comparing it to like the state of play that the remake for Seven showed up when it's like E3 was right after.
Yeah.
Like people keep mentioning that,
Yeah.
and like it's very baffling because it's like from a marketing point of view, the seven thing was very strategic of like the state of play. There was like a seven like concert, like I think like a week or like a couple of days before E3, where I think they showed more stuff. If I'm remembering it right, and
Yeah.
then E3
True. Yeah.
happened, and then that was the big blowout. So. Um,
That's what happened.
Yeah, like so it's just kind of like 16 has no comparison to that unless they just throw their own event like in December, like right after the game awards or like in January or something. So I don't know,
Hmm. We'll see.
but it could be there. Maybe I'm just being jaded, but I'm kind of like 50-50. Like I don't feel strong enough to bet on it as of right now, but like it just I don't really feel it. If it's there, great. I hope it's a great trailer, but
Well, the last time we had a
so
bet about something, it didn't turn out great. Let's not bet.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like our bets, they aren't the
Yep.
best. So, I mean, like I said, I hope it's there. I mean, I do think like it's at the point of like they're being hyped up as a team that's like not like the others. Like they don't wait. You don't wait long gaps of time to hear information. So I feel like you know the next time we see this game, there needs to be very clear answers for things. Like we need to know if like Clive is the only character. Like if there's a party, if we can play with as them as if there is. Like I expect those things to be answered the next time we see this game.
And a release date.
Yeah, release date. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Which, what do you think it'll be? Are you thinking like summer or like fall? 2020,
I
2022.
still think it's before it's releasing before Forspoken.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I think so too, because I think like I didn't mention this like when we talked about Forspoken, but I'm getting very like I don't want to say like I don't think like the 15 like the Luminous production team hasn't learned their lesson with things, but like the whole like the showing of like Forspoken of like at the Tokyo Game
Yeah.
show
Yep.
like
Yep.
I think if this game was like releasing in like March or April, this like you would have things to show. Like you would show footage. So I don't think it's I think it's getting delayed. Yeah.
There's game delay, and it's probably they have the end of spring in mind, and it probably will be delayed into summer.
Mhm.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
So
And 16 looked in a yeah, I think we talked about this. It looked more fine tuned than Forspoken when we saw it, even though it was only one trailer and some parts weren't great, but the parts that were good, like the combat sections and stuff, they looked pretty polished.
yeah, like to me, 16 looked like it looked like a cross-gen game. Like if it dropped, like if it's like an open world game and stuff like that. Like if it's bigger, like like 7 remake, which it is, then like it not having like the models, like the graphic fidelity that like the remake has in terms of like the models looking super nice. That makes sense. Like people have pointed this out. Like
Mhm.
like if it was a PS4 game, I think it's fine. Um, so like I mean, I still think it's a PS5 exclusive. I know there's like debates about that, but like I think it's a PS5
Yeah,
exclusive. Like I don't yeah.
yeah.
What about you? Yes.
I think so too. I think by it's unlikely that it's a cross gen game, and they didn't tell us about it. Like even
Mhm.
I think Resident Evil 8 kept that
Mhm.
secret for a few months, and then they revealed that it was a cross gen game also available on PS4. Like it's been too long now. It's
Yeah, it's been a year. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I think like because like I know people like to use Sony and like their first party games, but I feel like Sony like after Horizon like they announced it like right after in a blog post, and I think even like
God of War.
another game um like that the racing game like they announced it
Yeah,
was like cross gen.
and God
It
of
wasn't right after, but
yeah
go
it
ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah and God of War. I think all three. Uh,
Oh, okay, God of War. Okay, okay.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that
Um,
one. Oh
uh,
wait, yes I did. I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah.
the racing game Gran Turismo 7. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
it's fine.
Yeah, like no, I just because the only racing game I remember is Forza, and that's just because
That's
like I
not
have a
coming to
Forza like
PlayStation.
Xbox One. That's the only reason I know like that the game.
Nope.
Uh, 'Cause I was trying really hard to remember.
I get it. Well,
um, but yeah,
we don't really play these games, so it's
I
understandable.
don't. but but yeah, like I just don't, especially because this is a third party one, and I don't see like Square Enix sitting on like haha like it's a cross gen game all along, you
Yeah,
suckers. Like espe-
especially
especially since
knowing.
these are this. Oh, go ahead. I think
Yeah,
we're about to say the same
yeah,
thing.
especially knowing the team that's working on it. They're usually pretty transparent with everything they do for 14, so it would be pretty out of character for them.
Yeah, I actually was gonna say something different. I agree with you with your
Yeah.
what you just said, but I also was gonna say especially because like they put Yuffie's DLC on PS. They made that an exclusive, and I
True.
don't think that was. I, I don't think that was a Sony decision. Like I think that was their decision.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, I don't. I think this is. And again, I understand why people want it to be a cross-gen game because, like, I don't have a PS5 yet, so it's like,
Hmm.
it's not like I'm on like the PS5 like owner like train. Like, I don't have one, so like, I definitely get like people want it to be a cross-gen game, but I
Hmm.
don't think it is. Um, Honestly, like in the state, like I feel like we, in the one trailer that we got of 16, I feel like told us more about 16 and its world than like any of the Forspoken trailers have. So
Yes.
like I do think
Yes.
I think it's coming out first just because I think Forspoken will get a delayed, and even if it doesn't come out first, I think they'll be very close. Like I think it'll be like how Avengers was technically supposed to come out like right after the
7 remake.
7,
Yep.
but it got delayed
Yeah,
again.
they do that. They
Um,
they don't have any problem doing that. Yep.
Yeah,
That
like
can
people keep
happen.
saying like, oh, they won't release games closer. It's like they don't care.
They do
Like,
it all the time.
yeah, they don't care. So like, like if Forspoken comes out in like April or May, I could see like, you know,
I'm still
I could
hoping.
see 16.
Yeah, I'm still hoping it
Oh, go
makes
ahead.
this fiscal year. So by March maximum.
16?
Yeah.
I don't see it. Like not from a marketing standpoint. I don't see it.
Yeah, I know. It's unlikely. I'm still hoping it.
Sorry, I'm just like instantly like no, but no. I
That's
mean,
what
it could
hope.
happen,
I mean,
but
that's what
yeah,
hope is about. Like, I'm hoping
I
it still
think
makes this fiscal year.
it for it to like just. I mean, I think it would have been possible if they would have like started marketing like if the game had have shown again at, like the TGS and they
Yeah,
had started marketing then I think it would have been possible. But like um, but
I.
I mean
It's a
anything's impossible. It's like
yeah.
it's a Final Fantasy game and like Guardians of the Galaxy released in like May to October. Like no, it's starting like June. So like July,
When
August.
they announced, I
That's
think
like 4 months.
yeah, when they announced it, I think they had they people could already pre-order at the time. Like
Hmm.
everything was ready.
Yeah.
The marketing was ready to kick off right when they announced it. So yeah,
So I mean, yeah, I mean, thinking about it, because I think they are trying to achieve that. I think they're trying to have like short marketing
yeah,
cycles and like release windows. Because I think they were trying to do it with Seven, um,
they did do
like
it
when it got
after
reshown.
yeah after this the the, the second trailer at State of Play.
Yeah, yeah, like for sure. I was saying that I think like even because like when they showed it at E3 and then they announced like the release date, and I mean obviously it got delayed, but like from like June to March,
Yeah, no,
that's like
a month.
a good couple of months. But
Yeah,
I feel like they're trying to shorten that even further in terms of like release when they begin the marketing cycle and when like the game actually comes out.
yeah.
Because
I'm hoping.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say Shadow of the Tomb Raider was like the first one to do it. Or like, I mean, it got leaked obviously, but and then I think they and again, this is actually something I really loved. They were transparent about it, where people were hoping um, Shadow would show at the Game Awards and Crystal Dynamics, and I think EDOS they like released a statement, and it was basically just like it won't be there. We know you're excited, but it won't be there. It was like just do that, just
Yeah,
tell people
that
it won't be there.
that's
But
sad.
they showed it. They did like the full like event of like in like March or April, and then that basically kicked it off. And then the game released in like September. So that was like the very first one I think that had like a really short like window in terms of like them officially showing it off and then it releasing. And it's funny because Shadow of the Tomb Raider was basically made by like IDOS, like Guardians of the Galaxy are. So maybe they're just really intense about that. Like they
Yeah.
really like doing that. I don't know, but I hope the Japanese side does it more too.
That's certainly what they're trying to do. I think they did show Dragon Quest 12 a little bit too early. Or they didn't show anything, but they talked about it a bit
Yeah, it was
too
nothing.
early. Yeah.
I think I think I understood that one just because it was an anniversary stream. And I mean, for an
Yeah.
anniversary stream, like I'm not a huge like Dragon Quest fan, but like I feel like they announced enough that like even if they didn't show 12, I think most fans would have been satisfied. But like I get why they showed, I get
Yeah,
why they
yeah.
announced
Yeah,
12 there.
they've
Yeah,
shown plenty of things. Yeah, right.
yeah. So I think for an anniversary stream, I think announcing it was early, but I guess I can excuse that one. If it was like E3 or something, it's like why show this? Like Microsoft, they have a big problem with that of like the whole like nothing trailer and it's like just a logo or like a
I
CG like
I think Microsoft. It's more because of they recently just started, purchasing a bunch of third party companies, and they I think they began working on stuff for them, but they don't have anything yet, and they just want to hype. people up, but they know they won't have anything before for a while.
But no, I agree, but I feel like some games, it's like it's weird.
You mean like Fable?
Yeah, because like technically, like I mean, a new Fable being out has been like an open secret. But when they announced, like when it was officially announced, I'm pretty sure that game had been. I mean, maybe it was just in like early production for a very long time. I don't know, but like I just thought like it had been in development, like full development for at least like 3 years. So I guess for me, it just felt weird that like they would have nothing to show like in game wise, and then they just do like a C, especially when like it's not like this isn't like a Final Fantasy or like Dragon Quest where like the developers change each time or like it's a it's a stable thing. Like it's like y'all fired like basically ended the last studio that had been making like the
Oh,
entire like series,
oh,
and it's
okay.
like a new dev. And
Oh,
I feel like when you do something like that, I mean, I'm sure most fans like casuals, they probably don't even know about all this. But I feel like for me as someone who like really loves Fable, when it's like it's in a new team's hands, I really do think you kind of need to like really show the game and show like the new like if I mean I think the CG trailer was basically to show like this is Fable, like the tone hasn't changed, but I don't know. I would want to see like this team's Fable like in game versus like a CG trailer that doesn't really tell me anything. So that was my issue with the
yeah,
Fable trailer.
yeah. They've had a lot of CG trailers. I I'm not sure how long Halo Infinite's cycle took. Was it announced a long time ago?
I'm not a Halo fan, so like I'm not like I remember kind of like vaguely when they first showed like Halo.
Was it
But I
when
know
they
it's been like
announced the new console?
it. Well, I know they announced new console at the. They had been announced because Halo's a cross gen game, or it was. Maybe it changed, but like I think it originally was supposed to be cross gen. So it wasn't when they announced the Series X because they had been showed Infinite.
Oh,
I remember that much
okay.
because yeah, because they announced the Series X and stuff at the Game Awards. Like that wasn't an E3 thing, and I specifically remember. I'm pretty sure the trailer that showed off Infinite was at E3. So like when the console was announced,
Hmm.
at least this current gen, it was a different event
Oh,
entirely.
maybe Halo is a different. Uh, because it had for polish they had to delay it.
Yeah, well, I remember the first Halo trailer. Again, I'm not a Halo fan, so maybe the first Infinite trailer was CG. But I remember the first trailer for it that I remember was in game. Um,
The
but
first,
yeah, I just can't remember when it was.
yeah, but it's a maybe Halo was not the best example since it was.
No,
I'm
no,
not
but you're right
really
though. Like you're right
I'm not
though.
really into Microsoft games as a whole. I just know
Well,
they exist.
well, I think it's funny. I feel like I've kind of just like in this the Final Fantasy community and like on this the Discord we have. I feel like I'm just like the
Yeah,
default like
advocate.
Xbox person because I kind of like I care like more than
You
like
and maybe
base.
also Courtier. Yeah,
Yeah, Courtier. Yeah, like Courtier. I feel like we're like the two
yeah.
like Xbox people. So we just like I
I
think
Yeah.
everybody assumes we care more.
I never had an Xbox. I never something I never had a game on Xbox that I needed to buy an Xbox for. I guess.
Well, I think the thing with Xbox is that, and I think this is what that why they've been buying like
Yeah.
studios is because the great games that they had, in my opinion, were like kind of basically third party games
Yeah.
that were exclusive to them. So like by like Mass Effect. You know, the Mass Effect is a huge series, and the first two games were exclusive to basically Bio like until Mass Effect 3, all of BioWare's games were like exclusive to Xbox. So like
NPC
if you wanted to play huh?
and no PC, just Xbox.
It might have been PC. And I think Dragon Age, I don't know if Origins was like PS3 at launch, but I know like the first two Mass Effects were Xbox only, and then Jade Empire, like Knights of the Old Republic, and I think that's why some people kind of feel away about like the Knights of the Old Republic remake. I think it's a PlayStation exclusive. I think yeah,
Right.
it's like it's an irony there because it's like the original is like Xbox exclusive, yada yada. But anyway, so like and a game I love, Jet Set Radio Futures, a Sega game.
Hmm.
Like when you first got an X, like I remember my brother got like the original Xbox for Christmas. The games that came with it was like a joint bundle of Sega games where like one was Sega GT and Jet Set Radio Future. And it's like that's a great game, but it wasn't made by Xbox. It was just published. Well, I don't even know if it was published by them, but like it was exclusive to them.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's like the trend of like early like Xbox, like pre like Xbox One era, where like they did have games that were published with them. Halo obviously is one, Fable obviously another one, but like they don't. It's not like I mean Sony's kind of like the same way, where like a lot of people associate Crash Bandicoot with Sony, but like Sony never owned Crash Bandicoot.
Hmm.
There's a whole YouTube video that goes into it, but like it was a deal made where the games are put on PlayStation, and then I think like there's a whole video y'all can like Google it, like the history of Crash Bandicoot, but like they never owned Crash Bandicoot. Um, so and that's really interesting to know, but like learning the history of like some of these games and how some of these deals work, but yeah, I think that's Microsoft's, at least with Xbox, like main issue has been is that like they weren't really putting out a lot of the game, like they weren't making the games
Yeah. And
people remember from
it's
that era.
different now. Than, I think it's they had to do that, and certainly for me, it got me more interested in the stuff they want to put out. Like, for example, I still haven't played the first one, but I'm really interested in Hellblade, the second game.
Mhm.
I still have to play the first one, but
Mhm.
it looks really interesting, and I guess Fable 2. I might be interested in this.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think they're going the right way, especially with Game Pass. Obviously, they're it's doing pretty well. Um, they they're certainly more competitive now uh, compared to Sony than they were before.
Yeah, I think them buying, Bethesda woke a lot of people up.
Hmm.
And that reminded them like Microsoft has money to throw around. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think that that woke a lot of people up, and it's like people are like, oh, well, Sony has money too, but it's like, yeah, but like they're not like on the level of like a tech company. It's not the same thing. So
Yep.
and I feel like like if you know anything about like Microsoft, like just as a company, like they're really like Azure is like a big thing, and like xCloud runs on Azure,
Mhm.
and like the fact that like the company, like the head, like the actual outside of Xbox, like the fact that like Azure is being tied to Xbox says a lot. Because I remember reading something about how like when they Microsoft got a new CEO, like one of the first things he asked like Phil Spencer was like, "Why are we still in the game industry?" And basically, and like that's very coded as like, "You got to tell me why we're here." Like this, they'll shut this down.
Hmm.
And Phil Spencer came back on the presentation, and I think that's where like Game Pass and like these subscriptions and like XCloud and like all this stuff came from. And like I feel like I think people don't realize. I mean, I think now with the Bethesda thing, people realize, but like before then, like Game Pass was like a ha type of thing. But I don't think people realize
Oh
like how
yeah,
aggressive like
Bethesda was big.
the
Oh yeah,
moves.
I remember the
Yeah,
salt.
like
I remember the salt.
yeah, yeah. There was a lot of salt, but like
Oh
yeah, like I feel like before people weren't really taking the moves. Like it was kind of like a joke when like oh they just keep buying studios, ha. But it's like I feel like they're making these aggressive moves for a reason, and like we're now seeing like the result of that. Like obviously, like I want to play Fable, but I gotta be patient. So it's just I don't even
yeah.
remember how we even got here, but like this is an interesting conversation. But yeah,
We were
um,
talking about how Square Enix was getting better at announcing games and the
oh
cycle
yeah, and then
versus
tied
how
into like how Microsoft
Microsoft
like
has been and why they were doing that. Yeah,
yeah. So like yeah, like I think there will be a payoff for this, but I feel like Microsoft is kind of like in their Square Enix era of like where I think there was that era of like when 15 released and we hadn't really heard anything about the remake, and it's kind of like all right, what's going on, like when are we gonna get some games, blah blah blah. And I feel like Square Enix is kind of like building that momentum with like the remake is out now. We have Forspoken, we have 16, and I think Microsoft will eventually reach that moment of like they'll start having
yeah,
those
for sure,
bangers come out.
for sure.
It's just yeah. So I think we talked about most of the topics for this episode, and we do have one more in terms of you hinted at it before,
Yes.
which is that Sora got into Smash, and that was a
Yay.
very big deal because every time like a fighter is about to be announced, like Sora always trends.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was gonna get it. I didn't think he was gonna be the
I'm
last
I'm happy for
character.
them, and I'm happy for Smash fans. I'm happy for Kingdom Hearts fans, and I'm happy for myself that I won't have hear about uh, to hear them crying about it. So,
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel. Like it's like wow, like he finally got in. Now I don't have to hear that anymore.
no,
But it,
shut
it
up.
is exciting. Like I do have to like kind of just shout out like Sakurai and like I know there's like issues about like diversity. Like I kind of felt jaded. Like I feel like that would have been like a good
Yeah,
spot for like Lara Croft because like basically like all the Square Enix representatives have been like men because it's like Cloud, Sephiroth, the Dragon Quest hero, now Sora. Like
uh-huh.
it would have been nice to have like a woman. It's Tomb Raider's anniversary, but whatever, it is what it is. There's like the diversity issues of women and also brown and black people.
Yep.
But I will say like he does a great job of like with these trailers of like making you remember like why you love these characters because like that whole trailer of like Sora being the light that
Yeah,
like makes everybody like fight again and like him
yeah.
flying around
He really
and it was
does.
just like super
He
nostalgic.
really does the characters justice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't even that I didn't even want Sora in Smash, and then and the trailer got me a bit
Yeah, me too.
excited.
Yeah, like the music. Yeah.
Always, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I just like watching that reminded me of like why I loved Kingdom Hearts. And it kind of just, like it was like, oh man, like you remember when like the series like meant something to me? Like I don't know,
that's
like it
because
just
that's because it's Sora from Kingdom Hearts One when the
one,
story
yeah,
was
like
still when the story still made sense.
yeah, like it was magical. Like I feel like and I mean I don't know like if it'll happen. And I know we kind of didn't really touch on it, but like next year is also like Kingdom Hearts 25th anniversary,
Indeed,
which just feels well is it 20th or 25th?
twentieth,
Am I missing
20.
20? Yeah, I was like 25th sounds too like wait. I was like wait a
That
minute.
that's seven's
Yeah,
anger.
20. Yeah, I was like wait, 20 is Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary, which
No,
feels like bonkers because
oh
I remember when
yeah.
like it came out. Um and do you think there's a possibility of like because I that's another thing. Like Kingdom Hearts team has been like really silent. Like the like
Since
outside of like the Kingdom the
Remind, you
melodies
mean?
of memory. Yeah. Well, technically, we did get another game after
Right,
Remind,
right,
the Melodies a Memory
right,
thing,
right.
which has story stuff technically. Which is only it's kind of the only reason I'm mentioning it. But like in terms of like real, game, like why people play Kingdom Hearts, like Remind is like the last like meaty thing. Um, and Remind and Melodies of Memory both set up like this new game that's coming. That's basically, kind of like it sounds like it's probably gonna be like a Dream Drop Distance 2, where you play as Riku.
Oh no.
It might be what Dream Drop Distance was supposed to be, because that was supposed to be a solo Riku game. Like it wasn't supposed to be like him and Sora, and that's kind of like why Sora's side is kind of like janky story
So,
wise, because like
so it's going to be a solo Yozora game.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know people really want like Virum Rex to be real.
Uh,
I mean, I personally don't think Virum Rex is ever gonna be like a real game. Like, I mean, anything could happen, but like, I think it's just gonna be like a world and like whatever this new game is, like Quadratum. Like, I think that's what it's called. And I think like Yuzora and Co will be like the equivalent of like Leon and like Era, if like they're the characters like in this world. I think people are gonna be disappointed. Like if people are like expecting like a real game from this, I think they're not gonna get that. Like I know people, like I have some like friends who like really love The World Ends With You and were really looking forward. Like they basically bought Dream Drop Distance because the characters were in it,
oh,
and then were like super disappointed that like they kind of didn't really matter. And I think this might be a repeat of that. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to set up. I haven't played the Melody of Memories, but yeah, it would make sense that it's the next game would be a spin-off and not a mainline numbered games.
Well, do I? Are you saying I need to do like a Kingdom Hearts catch up for you right now?
Well, if you want to.
I mean, it's really short. It's basically like melodies and memories. I guess spoilers for that if you haven't played it and you actually like care about Kari. Uh, is that the ending? Is that they kind of, excuse my language, but they basically fuck over Kyrie one more time. We're like, because like the whole game is like kind of like diving into her memories or whatever, and like at the end, it's like she faces off against Xehanort, and like the final boss, you don't even get to fight him as her. Like she turns into Sora.
What?
You fight Sora. You fight Xehanort, like I guess in her mind or like in her memories as Sora.
in
Um,
in in the rhythm game, she couldn't even.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. That's yeah, yeah. That's the thing. A lot of people are upset about that. They put her on the
Yeah.
cover, which I think they should have never done that because it just raised expectations. Because after, I think leading up to its release, I read something where somebody was saying people need to stop getting excited about this game for Kyrie because, like,
I wouldn't.
Nomura said in it.
I
Oh,
would
go ahead.
understand them. The whole marketing was around Kyrie. The trailers were about her.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly, but again, this goes back to interviews and like Nomura and
Hmm.
people saying things that don't line up. Is that they pointed out how like Nomura said that Kyrie wasn't really originally supposed to be like the narrator. It was supposed to be like Chi 3, that like little animal thing that's like in the mobile games that they're like trying to make a thing now. Like it was at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. Like
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Roxas, Ventus picked it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So apparently like that was supposed to like it, I don't know if it has like a gender, like it was supposed to be like the the narrator, like it wasn't even supposed to be Kyrie. So I think they just kind of like just decided to make like a Kyrie thing, so that just kind of just shows like a lot of thought and care wasn't put into it. So after like I guess you like beat you like fight Xehanort as Sora, and then I think you kind of find out that in Kingdom Hearts 3, when like everybody kind of like not dies, and you have to like repair Sora in like that like cloud world, and you talk to like these stars. One of them, like I remember there being theories that like it was either like one character's sister or it was like Stella. Like I mean, she technically doesn't have a name, but like we're just gonna call her Stella. And it
Okay.
turns out it is Stella. And so they
L-
like after
literally Stella
I don't think.
from.
Well, we don't know her name. Like
Oh,
people are just calling her the Nameless Star, but like that's who she is. Like I mean, I'm sure she'll have another name because like Nomura, but like it's the girl from the Vera Rex trailer. That's basically Stella. Like
okay.
she just has a new design.
Right.
So basically, like after the Xehanort thing, like Kyrie goes and talks to Riku, because she was basically like asleep for a year. So this, I guess, this is all like taking place, like melodies and memories, like taking place like while she's like sleeping this year. So she wakes up and like Riku comes and she's like, I guess she found part of the key to find Sora, and so they go to like that world and they talk to the Nameless Star with like the fairy godmother, and they talk to her and they basically find out that like she's the key to getting to like this world called like Quadratum. And I guess it's like a world of fiction.
Was this
So
the
I'm sure
first
like
time they mentioned that world?
I think yeah, like I think this is like the end of melodies and memories, like when they mention it, yeah. So like and Quadratum obviously square, so it's like a play on words. Um and I think it's like a call it like a world of fiction. So that I think that's the reason why I don't think Verum Rex is gonna be like a game like for real, because it's like if Yuzora and like all these characters are from this world of fiction, I think it's Nomura saying something about how like it's not real, like like it's they're fiction, like this version of verses. Like I mean maybe I'm reading too, like maybe I'm getting caught up in it and like reading too much into it, but I feel like he's saying something about like it's probably like not real. Like they're never gonna be like reality or whatever. I don't
Uh,
know. Um, and so basically, Riku's like, I gotta go. I gotta go save Sora. And then like Kyrie's like, I wanna go too. And then he's like, no. It's like really awkward. And I feel you feel really bad for her because it's just like please let her do
give
something.
her
And then when
something. Yeah.
yeah, like she's trying to do something, and then he's like, no. And it sucks because it's like for Riku of all people, because it just sucks, man. And so he goes, he uses this like keyblade on like the Nameless Star. And I guess he's gonna they just leave it with that. Like he's gonna I guess enter the world. And I guess the secret ending in like Kingdom Hearts 3 is supposed to be showing, I guess that's like he entered it, like him in like
Yeah.
the city or whatever. And so in Kyrie's end, they show her talking to like Yin Sid, and she says that like she wants to choose her own trainer, and so Aqua's gonna train her. And then the joke there is that like people are saying now they're both bench. So I mean maybe something will come out of it, but like I think most people are kind of like jaded and they think like nothing's gonna come out of it. I just don't understand why like Kyrie has to like train so much when like Sora has never been like formally trained. Like he was just a little boy who like went out on an adventure. I just don't get it. So, but yeah, that's Melodies and Memory, and it just ends with Kyrie being benched again. Like maybe she'll come and halfway through the next game and be playable. I don't know, but it just ends up with like the same as usual. Riku's gonna save Sora, and it'll probably be like a game where either he's fully playable or maybe it's like a joint thing where like it's half him and half Sora. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was clear from the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 3 and Remind that
Mhm.
Riku was going to be important.
Yeah, yeah. That was always clear. Yeah.
I guess what I wasn't under the impression that they this time they gave Yozora more importance than something like the world ends with you, for example. Like uh, he was more.
Oh yeah.
You could
Okay. Okay.
no no.
No, keep going. Sorry.
I'm I agreed with what you said for the world end with you, but I remember like didn't Yuzora get like this big voice actor to voice him?
Well, it's like one of the Spouse brothers. I can't. I think it's Dylan. I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember. It's like Dylan or Cole Sprouse. I can't remember. But
Yeah,
like,
like someone more,
I,
high profile than a side character would usually get.
I guess. I mean, well, to be honest, like outside of like the one in Riverdale, which that's not the voice actor. It's the other brother. I
Riverdale.
mean, this.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like the other. The
I
yeah,
recently
because I
learned
mean,
about the entire history of Riverdale, and I kind of got a chuckle when I heard. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. No, that's fine. I've watched one season, and I watched a video that like talks about like how the show just spirals out of control. So I get it.
It's fascinating.
No, but I
Fascinating,
mean, to me,
honestly.
it's like I wouldn't say like the person they got for like it's just a former Disney star. Like honestly, like that's all. Like I wouldn't say it's a big deal. At least to me personally. Um,
Okay.
I mean, like I know his name, but like it's just yeah like I couldn't tell you what like the other spouse brother is doing
Okay.
like I haven't seen him in like movies and stuff. Like I'm sure he still acts or whatever, or maybe he doesn't, but I mean, I guess it's to rephrase what I said, because you're right, like it's not exactly like the world ends with you characters, but like I think Yazora is important, but I see I see like his friends and like the nameless star. Like I see them being like the Final Fantasy characters, like Squall in them. Like I think Yuzora himself is a tier above that, but I think like the other characters are just gonna be like, where's Yuzora's friends? Like they're just in the background. Like I just don't think they're important. Um, but that's just me.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see next year.
Yeah, yeah we'll see. I mean, I still think like I'm just gonna laugh if like this is like he just turns into Noctis. I don't think that's gonna happen, but like there's a 50-50 chance that happens based on
Yes.
like certain things.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like based on certain things we know about Yuzora, like the apparently like how
I
he looks. That's not
I
even how
I
he
don't
looks.
even want this to happen. I just want to see the reactions. That's all I
Yeah, I want to
want.
see I want chaos. Like
Yes.
that's what I
Yes.
want. I want chaos. Yeah. Like, I don't want it to happen, but I want the chaos just to like feel like he's not real. Because I know some people. I would feel bad like for people who actually really like the idea of your like Yozora. Like I know some people who like want Yozora and like the Verum Rex thing to be like its own thing. Like to be a real game like
I
that's
well,
not
yes.
like a
Yeah,
repeat.
we both know people that want that. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely do. But I know some people outside of the one server. But so like I would feel bad for like because I actually know somebody who like legit like loves Yuzora. So like I would feel bad for them because I think they really do like the potential of the character. But like
I mean,
I would just love
I
the
I
chaos of
understand. Yeah,
he just yeah
he has that,
like he just
Nomura edginess that people
yeah
usually like. I get that. I used to be
yeah
into that a
yeah
long time ago. I
yeah. Yeah, like this is a person like I know they're very much into like they literally started playing 14 just because there was a reefer class. Like they're very into like that edgy shit.
Oh,
So like
okay.
yeah. Yeah, so
Well,
like,
they
that's
you could tell them that there's already a Dark Knight. So
well, I think like this. I think there was very specific things about like the Reaper class that like
sure,
appeal to
sure, sure,
them.
sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it. I get it.
Um, so yeah, so yeah, like I would just be into it for the chaos because I know there's I, I'm just very curious
Yeah,
about like what it like, and I think it was the Remind DLC when like Yuzora is saying like this isn't what he looks like. Like I'm very curious what that means. That basically like did no more just create like an entire design that he's just gonna throw away. I
exactly.
would think that would be hilarious. Like whether it's Noctis or not, like that would be like that's like his new way of like
Yeah, like
doing away with the
I
codes.
wasn't personally a fan of when these cinematics happened in Kingdom Hearts 3
Hmm.
and Remind. I was just excited for the reaction I was going to witness after playing the game. I
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah, like
I
to
want
me, I
more.
like the Verum Rex stuff doesn't like when I finally because I knew about it before I actually played the game myself. So when I did played the game. I kind of just tuned it out. But like it's just chaos, man.
Yeah.
It's just pure chaos. But like I think one thing we kind of like uh, went into like the melodies and memories thing. But like one thing I did want to say about the 20th anniversary was that like I do wonder if there is a chance that there's a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake.
Yeah. Uh,
Like I don't know how you feel about that.
I I I would I would be happy about that because
Mhm.
I remember not having great experience with the first one because of uh, how clunky the gameplay worked. Like it
Mhm.
didn't really edge well at all. So having um, a, a better, refined gameplay with better graphics as well in the same world with the same simple story they had. I
Mhm.
would really like that actually. Yeah, that would.
Mhm. Yeah, like I would really want it. Like I think 20 years that like that would also explain like um that would explain maybe why they've been so silent because I feel like one thing about the Kingdom Hearts team um is that they've kind of like I wouldn't say pump out games, but I feel like they've always been kind of like consistent of like a mainline like when there's a mainline game, there's like a side game or two in the middle or something like that. And I feel like like technically Melodies and Memory is like a side game, but I don't. It's not like the same as like Chain of Memories and stuff like that. Um,
Mhm.
so I think like having a remake of like the first game and then maybe having like this side like Riku game or like Sora or Riku game would be cool. Um, but yeah, that's kind of just my lasting thoughts on um just the anniversary for Kingdom Hearts in a whole. So yeah, with that, I think we'll probably if you're not interested in Deltarune, this would be like the moment of the episode where you can just sign off and we thank you for listening to us go on, tangents about various topics related
Yeah.
to Square Enix and video games, and we appreciate you guys always tuning in to support us. And if you
See you next month.
are into Deltarune,
Probably.
yeah, hopefully, yeah, we'll see you next month, hopefully. um, and yeah, and if you're into Deltarune, then keep listening, I guess. So, Deltarune Chapter 2. It's come out, so we kind of wanted to talk about it since like the Undertale segment last time was like received really well. People seem to enjoy that, so we kind of just wanted to like I don't know touch on Deltarune
Yeah.
a little bit. So Joe, how did you? They well, I guess my first question is: did you replay Chapter 1 before replaying Chapter 2?
I did.
Playing Chapter 2.
I did. It
Okay.
took me. It didn't. I didn't play it as thoroughly as the first time, but I did. Uh,
Yeah. Same.
I just, when I finished it this time, I had more time to talk to the people in Chris's town, and so I did that. And after that, I started chapter two.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I did. I played I replayed chapter 1 and then I think I think I replayed chapter 1 like the Friday like around the time like chapter 2 dropped and then I
Uh-huh.
replayed chapter 2 like the next night. Um did you I guess one quick question before like diving into like chapter 2 cuz we don't really need to touch on chapter 1 but like did you ever do like the like secret boss in chapter 1 and like either
The
time you played it?
the one with in the prison.
Yeah.
I tried it a couple of times in my second playthrough, but
Hmm.
it was I found it a bit hard, so I skipped it. I started chapter. I wanted to start chapter two, so I did that.
Yeah, because like the first time I played it, I think I played it on my Switch. I didn't know about it, and then the second time I did know about it, but like I was actually like streaming the game like in a Discord server, so I was kind of just like not playing it like super quickly, but like I didn't want to like go into that. So like I've never like played it. Like I've watched gameplay of it, and like the music's great. But yeah, I
Yeah.
was just curious. So anyway, chapter two. How did you feel about it?
Uh, well, as usual, it's simply great.
Mhm.
The writing, as usual, great.
Mhm.
The new characters, the crazy quote unquote villain. Uh,
Mhm.
I really liked you
Mhm.
know, a villain that's usually that self aware that says stuff like LMAO or that's crazy stuff. I loved it. And what's even crazier was the ending. It was really the last fight was something that we haven't seen in the first chapter or in Undertale as a whole. It was really special. Liked it a lot, and yeah, the implication that what happens to I'm gonna spoil, not really spoil, but talk about what happened to Chris at the end of the game.
Mhm.
The implication uh, the of what he did before the game ended is super interesting for what's to come.
Well, I'm gonna go. We might as well. Yeah, like if you don't want to hear Deltarune spoilers, then you should probably just tune out too, because like
Yeah.
I have to ask you about something, and I can't really talk about it without spoiling it. Like, do you know about like the Snowgrave route?
No.
I'm assuming that's a no. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. So,
I it's something you miss, right?
okay, so before I go into it, I'll just share my thoughts really quickly. I actually had mixed feelings the first time I played it. I actually didn't finish it the first time I played it because like I was playing it like I was streaming it again like in a server,
Mhm.
and I was like, dang, this is like really long. And so like by the time it was getting really late, I was like in the castle, like the queen's castle, at like the end,
Yeah.
and then I think I was just kind of like tired, and then the next morning I just didn't feel like playing it, like finishing it, so I just watched it. Um, and I don't know what it is. Like I do plan to like replay it, like maybe replay it on my Switch with like the save I have on there.
Yeah.
Um, because like I don't know, like I feel like I wasn't really feeling like Noel and stuff like that. I don't know what it was about it that like this chapter didn't really grab me as much as the first. Like it was still funny and like the music was great.
Yeah,
Like the
that's
whole
fine.
cyber world music.
Yeah, yeah.
So like that's like it wasn't bad or anything, but it just didn't hook me as much. So going into that, I think maybe one of the reasons like the whole character of like Noelle, like she came off very like uninteresting to me, and then you kind of realize that's intentional because this game has a genocide route. It's just it's telling her to kill people, and that's what the Snowgrave
Oh.
route is.
Oh,
Yeah.
so that's why I didn't kill anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I haven't done it. I just watched like a video of it. Like I heard people like on Era like talking about it, but like basically she like there's a reason why like you split up, and like when you're in a party with her, you don't have like the other characters, because like when you're with her and you encounter enemies, you can like tell her to kill them, and then like she'll kind of like be like I don't want to, and then like you tell her and like she'll do it. And when you fight Bradley, like there's like steps to it, but
The
like when
bird?
you're like going around and like killing people, apparently, like there's like one area where you can like buy this ring, and I think you can like just choose to take it, and you basically can have her like kill the monster. Like it doesn't show it on screen, but it like shows, it will say something like a caption like a icy wind like came through, because like she uses ice magic. um and I can't remember like all the exact stuff. I probably should have like looked it up before like talking about it. But basically like the reason it's called like the snow grape route is because like she has like this attack. I think it's like once you're at like 100% TP, and you can like use it. Um, like you're really supposed to use it when you're fighting like Bradley. And when she uses it, like she freezes him like entirely. Like he's like once you're done with the fight, he's like in this ice block.
Uh-huh.
And then like there's like differences in the game with that too. Like I think when you know like when you play it normally, there's that part where you see like um what's the other girl's, why am I blank, Susie's, you see Susie like talking to Noelle,
Yeah.
like and when Noelle's like locked up by the queen. I don't think you see that when you do kind of like this genocidal route. Like there's like other differences and like other stuff. And then also, you know, like Spamtron, he has like a secret boss
Hemtron.
himself. Um,
Yeah.
but there's yeah, so like but there's differences with how you fight him depending on the route. So like if in the like in your save, for instance, you didn't kill anyone, you fight him in like the secret boss fight. You actually fight him like with Rousey and like Susie and like the little like race carts. But in like the genocide route, you fight him alone. And there's a point in the fight where like you can't do damage to him, and so you can call on somebody, and then it's like a icy wind comes, and then like it doesn't show Noelle, but like the implication is like
Okay.
she heard your call and like froze him and like killed him for you. And at the end, when you go back to the real world, Bertley, like when they all wake up, Bertley doesn't wake up, and like she like shoves, she's like telling him to wake up, and he like doesn't, and so we don't really know if he's like dead, like
Oh.
because she, yeah, like we don't know if like because she froze him in like the other world or whatever, if he's like dead, because like there's like a weird thing when like you're inspecting that room where it says like the closet, like the lab, in the lab there's like a closet, and it's like, oh, there's, you could fit a body in there, which is like a weird statement to make. Like why would you want to, like why would you need to know you could fit a body in there? So like we don't really know what's going on with him and like in that route. And then there's other things where like if you visit her dad in this route, and like she leaves the room, you leave because like her dad wants to talk to Susie, because you know like Noelle likes Susie. You hear her talking to herself and she's like freaked out, and she's trying to like convince herself like all the things she did and like the dream wasn't real. And then you can like talk to her and she's like freaked out by you. And I think there's also like a thing of like she says something about like when you were telling me what to do, like when you like tell her to like attack or like act, she was like, the voice I heard wasn't your voice. So it's like there's a very interesting
Mm-hmm.
implications in that route, because it's, you know, which is the Undertale way of like you're learning, you learn different things depending on the route. So yeah. There's more to it,
Interesting.
but like that's what I can remember at the top of my head.
I didn't think that it would change this drastically just by
Yeah.
killing more mobs. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
like honestly,
mhm.
I just quickly, I feel like this genocide thing seems more drastic than even Undertale's. Like I, because you
Yeah.
know Undertale's just one game, whereas this is chapters. So this has to have ramifications in other chapters. So like that's just what I want to say, is that like it has interesting effects later on.
Yeah. Well, I was pretty much like you regarding Noelle. Like she wasn't. You're right. Not that interesting. I mean, she seems to like Susie a lot. That's cute and everything.
Yeah.
I actually liked her. Uh, her whole arc, not arc, backstory outside of in the real world with her father
Mhm.
and the husband. I was more interested to learn about that part of her story, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. But I feel like the stuff around her is more interesting because like I know it's implied that like her sister died. Well, I don't think it's implied. Like I think she straight up says it, like in the scene with like Susie, um, that like her sister died. And I know like I know like this isn't. I'm always like grateful to like read other people's opinions on the game because I feel like some of these people like they notice things more than me when I'm like just playing for fun. And I remember reading like a post that was going into how like each chapter there's kind of like a reflection of somebody. Like we're like chapter one, like Susie deals with her being kind of like a bully, and then like the king of like spades or whatever, he's like a bully to like his people, like he's a bully to his son and stuff like that. And there's kind of like a reflection there, whereas like in this one, the queen, I think is kind of supposed to like represent Noelle's mother, who like we haven't seen her mom, but like she's kind of stated to be like controlling,
Uh,
and the queen is controlling.
a bit,
And
yeah.
so like
A bit.
I yeah, so like
Interesting.
I I find that interesting.
So,
And
so you didn't,
I
so you
yeah.
didn't get to play the last boss?
No, I just watched it. I thought it was really cool though, like watching it. Like I plan on
Crazy,
replaying like the whole thing.
really crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of having, a giant robot and then getting to be the giant robot to fight that giant robot. That's genius.
Yeah, the whole fight kind of being like a reference to like knockout and like the fight you had with
Yeah.
her before. Like yeah, like I thought that was really creative, and it just makes me just excited to see like what him and his team do next, because like the
Uh,
rest of the chapters are supposed to release at once
the
paid.
the
So
the all the chapters, or just three chapters, or are the next three
I think
chapters the last three chapters and that's it?
what I'm assuming like it's probably just gonna be like like I could be wrong, but like on PC, like when you go on Steam, isn't like wasn't chapter two just like an update for Deltarune?
Uh, you mean chapter one? An update to chapter one?
Well, yeah, so yeah, just an update to chapter one.
I I don't know actually, because when I got chapter one back then, it wasn't even on Steam yet. I got it
Oh,
before
okay,
Steam, so
okay.
I deleted it. But I guess it's saved my progress somewhere, because when I downloaded the bundle, which is chapter one and two on Steam, it had my save, so it
Yeah, like
saved it somewhere.
okay. Yeah, so I think that's what's gonna happen is that it'll just update, and then when it updates, it'll just be like as a paid game.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
yeah,
Um,
so like
what I'm
I think
wondering
it'll just
is
be
that
updated.
if the next three chapters are going to be the last three chapters, or is there going to be anything else after that?
I know there's been theories. Like I remember, cause I can't remember if he's like said like the total number of chapters, but like I feel like I remember people saying like people were throwing out seven for some reason, but I'm blanking on why. But I mean, either way, like I'm excited, and I mean, we'll see, cause like you mentioned earlier, like there's a whole thing with Chris. Like we don't really know
Yeah.
what's going on
So
with
that's
Chris.
the only thing I read actually, is that it's the implication that the knight is controlling Chris's body, and for that to
Hmm.
happen, the knight has to remove Chris's soul, which is the heart that lets the player control Chris, so that he can do anything he wants with him.
Yeah, and I do think like there's I guess if there's like a theme in this game, because like Undertale had themes about how like the player, we don't there's like the whole thing about saving, and like how like we'll reset things to do our way, and we don't really think about the ramifications. and like the game remembers.
Yeah.
So like so like when if you do a save where you try to kill everybody, and then you go back and try to do like the happy ending, the game remembers you killed everybody, and
Mhm.
it's not as happy as you think it is. Um, and so I feel like like Deltarune seems to like be saying something with like about control, especially because like I mean at the end of the day, the player we're controlling Chris, like how like we could be considered, an invasive other evil force too, because like sometimes we're telling Chris to do good things, but sometimes we're telling them to do evil things, such as like telling another girl to like kill people, or like I guess kill other monsters. So um I don't know. I just it's just very interesting of
Yeah.
like.
Now I'm thinking about that chapter in chapter one. If you went if you killed everyone, was it that different from the specific
um
route?
I I remember I know people have like talked about like a genocide route in chapter 1, but I've never really looked into it, and I guess the fact that I haven't looked into it probably answers the question of like I don't think there's like any interesting like changes, especially because like what makes this chapter, chapter 2, so different is that you're making someone else do it.
Mhm.
And I think that's especially what's so like unique to it of like, oh man, like it's just very interesting. And like one theory, I actually watched a video about a theory about how like you can buy like this tea, I think in chapter 2, and like who you give it to, like if you give like if there's like a Susie tea, if you give it to somebody other than tea, it like heals you based on like there's actually like a point system behind it all, like a relationship thing. Um, and apparently, like if you give like Chris Rouse Eyes tea, it like barely heals him. Like it's like zero, or like it's something like it's really low. And I think the theory is like the tea. I would have to like link it to you, but like there's like a theory about like the tea actually having like maybe like representing like the relationship factor between certain characters and things like that. Which I just thought it was interesting about like the way the whole theory was framed. I don't know. There's just like some crazy like talented and like smart people, like
Yeah.
The Deltarune Undertale community, and like the stuff they think about.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, do you have any lasting thoughts?
About Deltarune, no, that's pretty much it.
All right.
In the end, did you after that genocide route, did you end up liking it more?
Yeah, because I think it made me think about Noel's character differently. Like, because I remember like in Resetera, I actually like made a post about how like I kind of wasn't like into this chapter as much as I want to be, and I didn't really like Noelle. And I remember somebody saying like, "There's a reason she's like that." And then when I learned about like the Snowgrave route, what they were saying made sense of that. Like I think she is supposed to be kind of like, you know, this pushover, not much to her, because it's like that would explain how she can be so easily controlled. Like for like Susie, like if you well Susie would probably kill people even if you didn't tell her to, but like now, but she's a good person now. Like she's had development, but like if you told Rousey to like kill other monsters, he would be like no, because Rousey is like very set in his like convictions. Like he knows who he is as a character and stuff like that. Whereas like Noelle kind of just being like the only thing she talks about is like liking Susie and stuff like that. Like I think it all means something, and I just didn't see it initially. So I did come away like liking it as a whole. I don't know if I would do the genocide route myself, but yeah.
Well, now that you've seen it, uh, speaking of which, do you know if when you finish chapter one and you go and you don't uh, you let Susie kill whoever she wants, does this carry over to chapter two?
I'm not sure about that. I would have to like look into it and then let you know.
Oh, okay. next episode then. I'll
We're just gonna
make
have
sure.
like a Undertale,
Yeah, we might as well
like a
have an Undertale podcast at this point. Yeah,
yeah, it's like a our bonus like
yeah.
side episode at the end. All right. Well, once again, thank you all if you've tuned in this this long to hear our thoughts about Deltarune. We really appreciate it. Hope if you didn't learn about if you didn't know about the Snowgrave route, I
Now
hope
you know.
learned something. Yeah, now you know, and you can look into it yourself if you want to. But as of right now, that's the end of the episode. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.